Okay, let's get started.
Just raise your glasses high. This one's sweet.
Turtle time.
Amy. Oh my God. Amy, I can tell you're sick just from your voice and the way you said your name.
I'm fighting for my life over here.
Well, so tell me, you told me a little bit, off mic, but I want our little turtle cuties to understand what's happening. When did you know you were sick and how do you feel?
I started having a sore throat on Monday. It is now Thursday. I feel shitty, but better than I did. I'm sorry, you guys, if I keep doing little I have a very sore throat. I went to urgent care this morning. I went to an urgent care by my house yesterday that was kind of a lackluster urgent care. They had they also did like lipo and microneedling and stuff, and I was like,
Wow.
that's weird. That seems not like what I want, where I want to go.
Right.
And they did a strep test and it was negative. And once they had that negative result, they really didn't care to inquire any further about what was wrong with me. And they were like, like drink tea and like whatever. And I was like, I'm in a great deal of pain.
Drink tea?
And so I was like, fuck you guys. I completely implode in those situations and I get very irritable and don't advocate for myself. So I just left defeated. And then I had a night of agony. I didn't sleep at all and was just like swallowing fiery daggers all night.
Oh my God, the worst.
And then I went to a different urgent care that I've been to before when I did have strep throat, and they were cool. I'll give them a shout out. Hollywood Urgent Care on Melrose, near Paramount.
I've been there before.
You know what?
They were great to me too.
Yeah, I've had good experience. They have fun Hollywood photographs in every room.
Yes.
This time I had Marilyn Monroe and Jane Russell at Grauman's signing their signature in the cement. And last time I remember it was Norman Bates outside of his home. And I was like, that's kind of spooky. I kind of like it.
Yeah, that is awesome. Who's Jane Russell?
They were in Gentlemen Prefer Blondes together.
Okay.
She's a brassy dame. She's great.
Did you consider it an upgrade to go from Norman to Marilyn or the reverse?
I kind of wanted the Norman because we're like entering spooky season.
That would have been so fun.
Yeah, but Marilyn's shining smile got me through. The doctor was outraged about my treatment at the other urgent care, and he said my throat was red as hell. He was like, it's on fuego in there. We must help you. And we think it's, despite the strep test, probably some sort of a bacterial infection. And he gave me a steroid and an antibiotic in my ass.
Both of them were in your ass?
Both cheeks, baby.
Left cheek antibiotic, right cheek steroid?
I didn't get to see which was which. But yeah, I pulled down my leggings and they let it rip. And then I also got take-home meds that I will be taking for the next week, which actually is chill. I don't have any plans. If we want to let the Turtle Cuties into our plans, we're going to Big Bear next weekend for Oktoberfest. Yes. And so I think my run of meds will end just in time.
Good. And it's antibiotics. You're continuing your antibiotic treatment until Big Bear.
Yeah.
And then you'll be able to drink as many steins of beers as you want in Big Bear.
Exactly. I'm like, Dr. Turtle Cuties, don't judge me, but I'm trying to do the mental math on, like, so I got the butt shot today. So that is a dose, right? Like, that's like a version of it. But then on the bottle, it wants me to take the antibiotics for 7 days, which if that starts tomorrow, that will bleed into the first day of our trip because it's Friday. Yeah. But I'm like, if I got a dose today, and then I take the pills for 6 days, doesn't that still count as 7 days of
Exactly.
antibiotics?
Yeah, exactly
So that
right.
I can drink?
Yes. So the first
I said,
day, you're fully in the clear based off what your doctor said.
and I was telling our friend Natalie, who's going on the trip, and she was like, it's giving Max Todd. Remember when he like busted his face and they were like, no drinking, and he drank anyways.
Yeah, and James was supposed to protect him and take care of him, but James was the one pouring shots down his throat.
He had like Faith on his lap and was like doing shots, and it was just like total debauchery.
Yeah, I'm so
Uh,
sorry you're dealing with that. I haven't been sick since COVID. You know, when we did that COVID remote in April or whenever the hell that was. And yeah, it
yeah,
sucks so bad. I'm so sorry. And sore throat particularly is like the worst thing to deal with because you have to swallow 1,000 times a day, and it makes you not want to do
I
the
know.
one thing that is one of the things you
I
do the
know.
most in your life.
I've been like spitting in a cup to avoid swallowing, like I'm like, I don't know, like a baseball player or something.
Do you
Um,
have any of those wonderful like echinacea throat lozenges? Oh, those are good. Those are good.
I'm like, the thing is, like, at a certain point, I don't know what was going on, but like, I reached a threshold where it was beyond any cure all. Like,
Yes.
I tried everything, like
Right.
gargling salt water, the lozenges, throat coat tea. I
Yeah, no, I
ate like
imagine.
garlic. I did everything. It was just like not happening.
Damn. Well,
And then yeah.
oh, I just wanted to say I'm so sorry, and I feel like there might be some listeners who are going, "What the hell are you doing?" recording. So let's do a light and breezy and sort of fast paced, quick episode, so that we're not just making you miserable this entire time. And for the people who love our 3 hour episodes, I think we have to not commit to that this episode. I think we're going to do a quick and dirty, right? Like maybe,
Yeah, we'll
hopefully.
see what happens. We can't be trusted to stop talking.
No, that's exactly right, and that's true. But I think to wrap up this, I just want to say, Amy, I hope you get better soon. I can't wait for 7 days from now when we're in Big Bear and we're going to be chugging beers with. We didn't tell our little turtle cuties, but we're going to meet up with Sheena's ex-boyfriend Rob and party with him at Oktoberfest, which will be kind of fun.
You're gonna get drunk and see if you can swim to that buoy.
Yes, I want to prove that I am a better swimmer than Jax Taylor because I've had this grudge against him for a really long time. So I'm going to try to do that buoy swim test and do it all in one, there and back without drowning, hopefully.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's transition into the Turtle Time news update. Did you hear that?
So
Did you-
high tech.
Let me. I'm gonna do it one more time because there's another transition option. So just 1 second. I just want to do one different take. Okay, everyone, and we are now going to go into the certified Turtle Time news update.
My
Oh,
God,
that was
it's
very similar.
TMZ.
Yeah, which one did you like more? They were kind of similar.
I feel like did the second one have a little more gravitas?
Yeah, the second one was a little longer.
It's
Um,
like what's the TMZ one? It goes. Ch-ch-ch.
oh
It's like
yeah,
3 of those.
yes.
By the
Which
way, not to veer away, but I saw that movie Dumb Money last weekend. It's not that good. I
yeah.
don't recommend it. But the guy, what's his name? The stonk bro from Reddit or whatever. He kind of had like turtle time energy. I'm like feeling his vibe right now. He like would do these like self-tape YouTube videos, and there'd be like little like cat gifs and stuff. So if we can figure out how to integrate that technology, I'd be down.
What was Turtle Time-esque about him?
I'm just reminded of his vlogging style right now because we don't usually record this way.
Right.
But his fans are very loyal, like the turtle cuties. Like he convinced them all to risk all of their funds on the GameStop stock, and they respected him so much that they held firm on their buy. And I feel like the turtles would do that for us.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, it's a good segue into introducing the stock of the week. which we want them all to buy.
The ape, the
Yeah, what is
what's
that?
what is it called? I've already like deleted
Yeah,
the what's
I
it
forget.
called?
I don't know
Bitcoin.
the
The
Bitcoin.
what's like the art one?
Oh, what were those called? Art. Oh, NFTs.
Yeah.
Oh
We're
my God,
gonna make
NFT.
Turtle
In
Time. Each episode is an NFT that we
yeah,
will offer for a very low introductory price.
yes, they're extremely rare. They're one of a kind, and they cost. What do you think? $700 each.
Sure.
People
Um,
don't talk about NFTs very much anymore.
I think they've like lost their value
Oh, okay,
or
that's a bummer.
something. Like I think Bitcoin is like done. Um,
Yeah, Bitcoin is done. NFTs are done.
Stonks. Okay, sorry. Anyways, but yeah, the news minute. Sorry, you guys, is going to be very Tom Sandoval heavy this week. There's like three different things.
Yeah, I think it has to be just because of the sheer number of projects Tom Sandoval was a part of this week. He not only is starring in World's Toughest Test, right? Special Forces World's Toughest Test. He's
Yeah.
also secretly singing in a costume on Masked Singer, and it is 100% Tom Sandoval. There is absolutely no doubt about it. It is him, which is kind of funny
Is
to
this
just
like
fully, huh?
Yeah, is this like the first time that's ever happened where everyone was just 100% certain from before it even aired?
I mean, I'm not sure because I've never been a part of any Masked Singer previous season, but I just think because Bravo fans we're so in tune with the nuances of the Bravo Lebs,
Yeah.
that the fact that those clues, it just absolutely could not be anyone, and we know him so well. Maybe like a huge segment of the Masked Singer population would have no idea what those clues meant. I'm pumped up.
Right.
I'm a hated sea creature, but it just cannot be anyone but him for us because we're just so aware of everything about his history and the shows he's on and what's been going on. So I don't know. I
Yeah,
feel
for
like we
sure.
just had a leg up completely.
For sure. Yeah. I guess because we were joking about like how like auto-tuned he is or whatever, but I guess do they always sort of like mask the voice as well so that it's not like a dead giveaway or I don't know.
I thought the whole so I know nothing about the show, so it might be so annoying to like listen to if you're a huge Masked Singer head. But I would think that you would unalter the voice because that's the one way you're supposed to recognize someone.
Right.
So I was
Yeah.
listening to Tom Sandoval sing, and I was like, oh, I recognize like 60% of his voice. And then the 40% where he was like going really high, I was like, that is not Tom Sandoval's voice. Like we've heard him sing so
Right.
many times.
Yeah.
So
What
yeah,
was it? Any way you want it, that's the way you need it.
any way you want it. What is it? Yeah, any way you want it,
Yeah.
that's the way you get it.
Any way you want it, that's the way you need it.
Oh yeah.
Any way you want it.
Oh yeah.
I think that's on the Rock of Ages soundtrack, which I bet he fucking loves Rock of Ages. I just realized.
Why would you like that? I've never seen it.
Oh my God, we should watch it. It's fucking amazing.
Okay, I would love to.
It's like very outrageous. I'm just having a brilliant idea. Maybe Tom Sandoval should be in a touring cast of Rock of Ages.
Do you think you would enjoy that?
He would love it.
What
It's
is
all like
Rock? What is Rock of Ages? Like I don't even. Is that the one that
it's
Tom Cruise is in?
yeah.
Whoa.
It's like a jukebox musical of basically like what would you call it? Like hair metal or like 70s and 80s like rock.
Okay.
And it's a blast.
Okay. Let's definitely watch it, and let's definitely try to get Tom Sandoval part of their what's that called? Their cast, touring
Yeah,
cast.
let's do it.
So,
I
what did
did
you?
watch World's Toughest Test. I watched the entire episode.
Okay, so I didn't
Um,
even see one clip of it or know when it was on or when it came out. So please tell me your thoughts on it from watching it.
Honestly, I think I might watch the whole thing. It's insane. It's very like Fear Factor-esque almost. It's like so it opens with all of the celebrities in a van and they like don't know where they're going. And they put
Are they blindfolded with bags on their
well,
head?
they put bags on their head.
No way.
They make them get out and get into like a human centipede chain gang to like walk where they're going.
Head to
And
ass?
they have like their like hands on each other's shoulders.
And then you don't
Um,
know who they are because their bags are on their heads?
yeah. And their first challenge is to like walk. It's not a tightrope, but it's almost like as if a ladder has been laid across a gorge. Like each of your feet is on a very narrow
Whoa.
thing, and there's just like a, I don't know, it's like 300 feet in the air or something. And they are, wearing like a bungee or whatever, but like everyone falls, like for the most part. Actually, Sandoval makes it across.
Whoa.
But like since it's like army style, they're so mean to them. Like
Yeah.
Jojo Siwa will like smirk and they'll be like, "Shut up, you're disgusting."
Yeah.
It's just like Jojo Siwa. You're like, okay. Tara Reid, I don't know what's going on with her, but I do not think she should have been approved to be on this show.
Okay.
I'm like concerned for her health and safety. There's one point in the show when she's like falling asleep because they think it's like the end of the day, and they all have numbers, like they wear like a number on their arm, and she's number 2, and they just scream. They're like, "Number 2, get out here!" And she's like wakes up. She's like, "What?" And she like runs out. And I think she's wearing like long johns or something because they're like, "Where are your pants?" She was like, "I was sleeping." And they're like, "Go put on your pants." And then she like tries to like jog back to go like put her pants on, and she like falls. Like she can't even like just go from point A to point B. She gets in trouble for trying to bring in contraband Marlboro Lights.
Whoa.
She just like keeps getting in trouble. And then so they do like the the ladder thing, and like I don't know how many of them make it, like a small percentage of them make it across. It's kind of anticlimactic. And then they go back to their like barracks or whatever, and there's drama between Brian Austin Green and Black China.
Okay.
And then they when they have Tara Reid come over, they put a bag on her head again.
Oh my God.
And guide her into this little like Guantanamo interrogation chamber, which it's like just very funny because it's clearly just like a set.
Right.
Like it's like dirt on the floor and it's like made to look kind of like shitty, but I'm like, this is just like you had like set decorators like working on this. And like they like unmask her and she's like, she looks so like bewildered and like scared. Like she looks like terrorized. And they're kind of like, you can tell that they kind of feel bad. Like they're like, "Oh no." And she's like, I'm not in the shape that I would like to be in, but I wanted to use this opportunity to like, I don't know, like grow and like prove to myself, whatever. And they're like, they like stopped being assholes for a second. They're like, "Well, we're not just looking for physical strength, but also mental strength." Like they couldn't be like, "Shut up, bitch." They were like,
Yeah, right.
"Okay, it's fine."
Wow. So she kind of broke them a little bit.
Yeah, so she cries, and then they call Jojo Siwa into the interrogation chamber. So they again like Abu Ghraib like put a mask on Jojo Siwa, which like she's the most like adorable, like I think she's like 20 years old, but she looks like a child and like wears like pigtails and stuff. And so it's just like very funny for her specifically to be treated this way and like get like questioned in this area. And she cries too.
Oh wow. Does Tom in the first episode go into the interrogation room?
Not yet. I hope his time comes soon. I would love to see that.
There is something kind of funny about the Marine, like, they're just being mean, like, performatively, so it is kind of funny. And I guess seeing them do that to like these celebrities sounds really silly, like them going like, "Wake up, maggot."
Yeah, it's hilarious. I don't know how they're all not just laughing, because I would be like laughing so much. I would be like, this is fucking insane. Like, what are we doing? How desperate for cash are we that we're putting ourselves through this? At
Right.
one point, they like, Jack Osborne is on it. Um,
Whoa.
and they at one point make them go run to a pile of rocks, and they have to select a rock, and they don't know what they have to do with it yet. But it turns out they have to like hold it over their head for an extended period of time. And so they're like, says a lot about what size of rock each person chose. And like they had to like squat through, like do squats with the rock and all this stuff. And I don't remember his name, but I think he's a fairly well known football player, fucking throws up doing it.
Whoa.
And I'm like, did he just go like way harder than everyone else because he's so used to doing like hard workouts? Or because it looked hard, but it was like, I don't know, it didn't look that hard.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, so you think you'll continue to watch it?
I think I will. It was honestly, I watched it with Jimmy and we were laughing the whole time. It was pretty funny.
All right.
Um,
I mean, I might watch it too. I mean, it does sound funny to see Tom Sandoval in that environment.
yeah, they had nice little introductory comments from the army guys for when they first, got I don't know, unveiled. And so it would be like Sandoval and his hair's like all in his face, and they're like, pretty boy, like, who are you? Like, what are you doing here? And he's like, I'm on a reality show. And they go, well, welcome to reality.
Oh, wow.
Like they had like a little remark for like everybody. And I'm like, it's so humiliating to be like, who are you? Why are you here? Like, why should I know who you are?
Right. But they're all like reality stars, right?
Pretty much. Or like
Or yeah, football players.
actors. Yeah, I think there's one of them that's like it was like a more niche sport, like it was like skiing or something like that, where I was like, I definitely don't know who that is.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I would say at least try the first episode, see what you think. I just thought it was very funny, and it's kind of like that perfect kind of TV that I don't really watch anymore, where it's just like so dumb
Yeah.
and like you don't have to follow it at all. You
Yeah.
can just be like, this is the silliest thing I've ever seen. Like, because even now with Housewives, we have to like pay attention, and like we have all these opinions, and there's like, I don't know, like the whole universe is, there's a lot going on. Whereas with something
Yeah.
like this, it's just contained madness.
Yeah, that's how I felt about that Masked Singer clip that I saw. It seemed, I mean, it seems like one of the dumbest premises I've ever heard of in my life, and I would have never watched that. But just watching that clip in isolation of a person in a weird costume singing, is that Journey, that song?
Yeah,
Can you?
I think so.
Sure. Okay.
Or no, it might be like one of those like one name bands like Rush or like
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So it just
you're right.
was.
You're
It
right.
was just, it was silly. It was just so silly. I was like, okay, I mean, I can understand why people watch this. It's like very heightened, like karaoke where you don't know who is singing. I don't know. It just
Well,
seemed a
also
little
just
more.
like the responses, like he would just be like singing and it was very like average and whatever, and then they would cut to the crowd and they'd be like, oh my god, like the judges would be like, no way, and you're like,
That was-
what?
Yeah. Yeah, that was my favorite part, just seeing everybody freak out to this performance like it was the best thing they'd ever seen in their life.
Jenny McCarthy would be like, who's this guy? Oh my god.
Yeah, that was funny. Apparently, I haven't seen the clip yet, but apparently Ken Jeong guessed who it was. I don't know if you already heard that, but did he
Really?
guess?
About
He goes, is that Tom Sandoval? And everybody booed. So I have to see that clip. I haven't seen that yet. I just saw the performance.
So is it like it doesn't matter if they guess? Like, are they like outed if they guess, or it doesn't matter?
I don't know. I need to watch this show. I can't understand. I don't understand the concept of it. Do they guess, and then once they guess and they get it right, are you kicked off?
I
Or
don't know.
did you? And we already talked about that Candy won it one time.
Oh yeah.
I really want to
Uh,
see the Candy performance and what costume she was wearing.
Yeah, I watched one that was Wendy Williams. She was like giant lips and she sounds like total shit, but she sounds like Wendy Williams. And Jenny McCarthy was on Watch What Happens Live with Heather Dubrow because they did that sitcom together in the 90s.
Oh, right.
Um, and someone called in and was like, "Can you tell us anything about, that everyone thinks Tom Sandoval is on The Masked Singer?" And she was like, "Are you trying to get me fired?" She was like, "I can't say anything." She was like, "I will say that whoever it is has been on this show before," as in
Oh,
Watch What Happens Live. And I was like, okay.
yeah. That's a big guess or a big
Yeah.
clue.
Yeah. Okay. And so I guess I also watched Dancing with the Stars. I'm sure you saw at least the clip of Ariana.
Yeah, I saw the clip, but I've never watched that
She
show
kind of
before.
killed it.
She did?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, I'm a bad judge of dancing, and I don't watch any dancing, and so I had no clue, like, how to, what's that called? How to, like, think about that, but you just let me know what you thought about it, I guess.
Yeah. So I watched the entire episode and I used to watch it here and there like 10 years ago. Um, and I forgot that that show actually really stresses me out because I want everyone to do well. And it's really stressful, like, especially for the people that are really bad. You're just like, why did you do this? Like, this is so embarrassing. Like, don't make me worry about your well being.
Right.
Um, so you kind of like, as you go, as you watch, you get a feel for who's good and who's not. And by the time she went, I was like, that was really good. Like she honestly was like very good.
Yeah.
She, I feel like a lot of it is just that people are awkward and they second guess themselves. So they move kind of like slowly and like you like do not have time to second guess yourself. You have to just like give yourself over to the rhythm, so to
Right.
speak.
Of
And I
course.
feel like she completely like went in and I was impressed, quite honestly.
Well, that's amazing. I mean, I'm glad. From what I saw of that clip, I thought it was good dancing. And did just a random question, but did Matt Walsh dance?
He got eliminated.
He did the
Yeah.
first night.
Yeah, it was him and Mauricio on the bottom too. And Matt Walsh took the bullet.
He said, "I don't want to do this."
Well, he got voted off.
Oh, okay. So Mauricio did really bad, and Matt Walsh did really bad, and then everybody voted and said Matt Walsh has to go.
Yeah, I thought Mauricio was definitely better than some of the other people, so I don't know why he doesn't have the support from the masses because he was like totally fine.
Oh, so
Um,
so the judges can only give you so much validation. It's really up to the audience.
yeah, it's some mix of the judges' scores and the votes. Like there's some like algorithm.
Do
Because
you think?
Mauricio was fine.
Wow. Do you think that the voters didn't know that Matt Walsh was one of the founders of UCB?
I guess not. They don't take their sketch comedy very seriously.
So was he pretty blatantly bad?
Yeah, he was terrible. There were a handful of them that were just really bad, like Allison Hannigan from American Pie.
Oh yeah.
Very bad. Bad week for American Pie.
Why? Because Tara Reid and Allison Hannigan were having trouble on these different reality shows?
Yeah. Allison Hannigan at least looked like she was having fun. She was just like very dorky, which she was leaning into, but I was like, all right, well, that can only get you so far. And
Right.
then Tyson Beckford, the model slash actor, was terrible.
Whoa.
Who else? There were just a few that were just like really hard to watch. So Mauricio was totally like I would say in the better half, so I don't know why he was on the bottom.
Do you think there's some sort of credence that their celebrity gives them? Right? Because Matt Walsh is probably the least popular in the same corollary with people who watch Dancing with the Stars. So maybe they're like, get this guy from Veep off. We barely know who the hell this guy is.
And he like almost didn't even do the show because of the strike, but I
Right.
think that deal came in just in time. So I feel like he probably didn't even promote it because he was like not even going to do it. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think
So
he was
yeah.
just a weird choice anyways.
Sorry to ask so many questions about Matt Walsh. Was Ariana by far the best dancer?
I'm trying to think. Actually, Jason Mraz was really good.
Wow, Jason Mraz is on it?
He was really good.
Wow, that's awesome. Wow.
He was one
Um,
with the music.
Did he? Do you know what song? What song did Ariana dance to?
It was like, I love me, I love myself, don't need anybody else. You know that one?
Wow. Yeah, I didn't. That was a beautiful rendition of it, but I haven't heard that song. What did Jason Mraz dance to?
That's a good question. I think it was something like 70s. He was wearing like a kind of like a disco-y outfit. But yeah, he was really good. There were so many, it's the first episode, so there were so many people that
I,
yeah.
I really can't believe that Mauricio was on the chopping block on the very first episode. I mean, god
I know, I'm
damn.
like, let's get rid of Jamie Lynn Spears, the abuser of her sister. Get her booted.
Jamie Lynn Spears abused her sister?
She's like part of the family's evil plot.
Do you think so oh so Jamie Lynn Spears was one of the people that didn't think Britney should be free?
That's right, because she wants to keep getting those checks, and maybe she stopped getting the checks, and that's why she had to be on Dancing with the Stars.
Do you think Britney is pretty free right now?
She's running around her house with some knives, and I'm a little concerned.
Did you see that, like, then in the next clip, she had a big bandage on her arm?
Yeah, and she has 3 little, like, Maltese dogs that are like, the hell is going on in this damn house?
The cops checked in, I think, on her. I think I just
Oh,
read.
they did.
There's been a lot of stuff you've been talking about already that has been news items that I received this week. One was that Marilyn Monroe, they did an AI composite of what she would look like at the age of 91.
How'd she look?
Good.
Hot?
Yeah, still really, really hot. I guess she would have been 91 now, currently, if
Okay.
things hadn't happened bad to her. Anyway, that just reminded me of the news items, and you mentioned Jamie Lee Spears as well. Do you think you'll continue Dancing with the Stars to follow Ariana's journey on that show?
Yeah, I think we'll see. I don't see why she wouldn't make it pretty far. I would watch. I mean, I'll like record it maybe and just like skip through, because I forgot that again. I think because now that again, I'm not complaining about our scholarly watching of the Housewives, but I need now content that's completely unrelated to anything. I mean, obviously Ariana is related, but
Yeah.
like now when I watch like Teen Mom or like Botched or I don't know, like 90 Day Fiancé or something like that, I feel like complete relaxation.
Yeah.
Whereas when I watch Bravo, I'm like, oh, I gotta mention that, like gotta think about this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I need
Yeah,
the
it's-
like really dumb shit to have on the side for extreme relaxation viewing, and I feel like Dancing with the Stars was giving me that. And then the ABC big ABC conned me into wanting to watch The Golden Bachelor.
Why?
It looks interesting. I don't even watch The Bachelor or The Bachelorette. I don't even like it. I don't think it's good. But I'm like, but old people.
Yeah, I mean, old people are amazing. He's like 70? Is that right?
I think so, something like that. And all the women are like hot. They like look amazing. But then I'm afraid that I'll be too heartbroken when they get eliminated, because I can't, not to like infantilize our elders, because like they've been through more than we have and can handle it, but I think I'll be
Yeah.
like so upset if like a 75-year-old woman gets eliminated.
Yeah, and like they cry.
Like that would be so much sadder than the usual type of people.
Is it? I mean, I am interested in it, like, because of The Bachelor, like, when they all, like, get drunk in the house together, and there's, like, 30 of them, and they all have to have a minute with the Bachelor, you know, or else he's going to eliminate one of them on that first night. That would be kind of interesting to
Yeah.
see with people who are over 70. Because you know what
Yeah.
I mean? Because young people are so much more, like, callous about getting that sit down with the Bachelor. And
Yeah.
so I don't know. But I'm not going to watch that show because I don't even like The Bachelor.
Yeah, I
But
don't
I don't know.
either, but I'll let you know if I tune in. I saw a clip. You know how it's become kind of a thing for people to do like a stunt when they get out of the limo, like for attention.
Oh, oh,
There
I
was
know
one
that
woman
very
that
well.
wore a full like spirit Halloween old lady outfit with like a walker,
No
and
way.
he's like, "Huh?" And he goes, "Do you need help?" And she goes, Psh, "Does it look like I need help?" And she's like, "Hot."
I was just going to say that would be the perfect opportunity for a Willy Wonka-esque entrance.
Mhm.
Exactly, like just like what you just said. They come out of the limo, they're using a walker or a Zimmer frame, and they go, "Does anybody? I need some help, dearie." And then when the Golden Bachelor comes up to them, they go, "Stop right there," and they push their Zimmer frame away, and they do a somersault and say, "I'm actually younger than you think."
Yeah, I would do a full like ambulance, like stretcher.
Like, oh, do you mean like so you would arrive in a car and it wouldn't be an ambulance,
Or
right?
maybe a coffin.
That would be good. A hearse
And
pulls
I'd be
up.
like, "I'm back, baby."
That would be so fun. Either of those is, I mean, for the next season or a future season, if someone wanted to do an ambulance with a stretcher or a hearse with a coffin, I don't know. I think they might. I don't know. They might not like. They might not like seeing a hearse used as a prop. You know, with someone come out of a coffin.
Yeah. Well, I
Um,
will keep you posted on that. And then because we are so diligent to our listeners, we did listen, unfortunately, to the first episode of Everybody Loves Tom, the podcast.
yeah. So while we both listened to it, how did you feel about it?
It was just kind of like boring. Like I was like,
Yeah.
what is this for? Like it just felt like it felt like he should have just, if he could, he would do what Ariana and everyone else does, where they go on like Sheena's podcast or Lala's podcast, like an existing podcast. Like there's truly no reason for him to have his entire own podcast.
No.
He just like hasn't had an outlet to talk about his version of the experience. I mean, except Howie Mandel, which we know how that went.
Right.
Um, so it just felt like he was doing what like Ariana did on Call Her Daddy or whatever. But now everything feels old and like I don't really care anymore. And I'm like, I don't really feel bad for him because I'm like, yeah, that was like in April. Like it's fucking October. Like
Right.
it's just like old.
Yeah, it was. I was definitely shocked because I was thinking about who the like guests would be, and it was very shocking that the first guest was Kyle Chan of all people. It's like so next week is definitely Billy Lee,
Seriously.
and then it's going to be Jason, and then eventually I guess I mean someone from the Vanderpump Rules cast is going to be brave enough to say I fully have forgiven. I mean like. It's going to be like Schwartz or Brock or possibly Sheena. I mean,
Yeah.
I still don't know fully if Sheena wants to admit that she's just back being friends with Sandoval, but she definitely is. I mean, we saw they were in Vegas together for the what is that? Life is Beautiful or whatever that like
Oh.
music festival. They're in there, and Tom Sandoval's just running around with Sheena and Brock. He's he's doing Instagram stories. He gets into a limo with both of them. Brock goes, "Here, mate, have a shot."
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, they're just like fully back as friends. And
Interesting.
yeah, for the audience, we just don't know what happened on the show that for why he gets forgiven. So I don't know how he would have a guest of Vanderpump Rules that hasn't had that experience where they got to see what happened in season 11 for them to get to that place.
Right. Um, yeah, he just like uh I didn't watch the podcast. I just listened to it. So was the guy from his band like the curly-haired guy that's like always with him, or is it someone else?
No, it's that guy that you know. It's the drummer who was with him on the Howie Mandel podcast.
Okay.
I don't think he has curly hair, but I also
Okay.
can't even recreate him in my mind right now. But you would know him. He's his drummer. He's with him all the time. He's like his best
That
friend
was like
now.
his
And
connect to Howie Mandel, wasn't it?
yes, and I can just quickly for people who don't want to listen to the Tom Sandoval podcast, I can just say some of the big moments. Do you think that would be
Yeah.
worth the
I
time.
think this is probably the best service we've ever provided because no one needs to listen to it.
Yeah. So it was very quick and breezy. Kyle Chan was the guest to. I think Tom Sandoval is rewarding Kyle Chan for like having his back for the last 6 months through hell, as like one of his only two friends, and so he wanted to promote that Gold Bar whiskey collaboration. I still don't really understand. This is like no one will care about this except me, so I'm sorry, but Kyle Chan is a jewelry designer, and that's what he's been known for. And then he said on the podcast that he went to Gold Bar Whiskey, which I guess is a brand of whiskey, and he gave them such a good old fashioned cocktail that he made that the guy from Gold, or whoever the owner of Gold Bar Whiskey said, that's one of the best old fashions I've ever had in my life. I want this man Kyle Chan, who is known primarily for jewelry, to do a collaboration with me to make a
That's
cocktail.
like sounds like something my mom would encourage me to do. It's like, why don't you just ask them, ask the
Yes.
CEO if you can be their
Yes.
partner, and they'll love you as much as I do.
Yeah, it's a story just like that. And then I'm still so stunned that Tom Sandoval got to be the connection for the Vanderpump Rules season 11 finale event, that for some reason everyone rallied behind Tom Sandoval's best friend Kyle Chan for this whiskey tasting. It's just, I don't know, of
I
all the
know.
like finale events, I just can't believe that ended up happening. But anyway,
Yeah.
he had him on. Jason is there as his like co-host, and Jason is there to like ask Tom questions about how he's been doing for the last 7 months. Is that how long it's
Yeah.
been? 6 months?
Yeah.
Um,
Didn't you think it was weird that like Sandoval, like a big crux of the conversation is that he says he's been sober since April, but then Kyle Chan was promoting booze and then was gonna make a cocktail on the podcast. And I was like, wait, didn't you just say that like it's been such a life-changing experience to be sober and it like saved you? And then your very first episode of your podcast is built around a whiskey cocktail.
yes, it was not. It was yeah. It was a ill-timed sponsor for sure. Not. But he did so in the video portion, which is this was in the video, in the YouTube video, Kyle Chan makes his old fashioned and he makes a mocktail version for Tom Sandoval, and they talk a little
Okay.
bit about why Tom Sandoval's not going to be drinking the real one, obviously. But if you don't watch the video and you just listen to the podcast, you would think that Kyle Chan is giving Tom Sandoval his first whiskey again after 6 months.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like. I was very confused, like, because Kyle Chan is even like, I don't know if we should be drinking and doing a podcast. Like, that's kind of like tricky business. And Tom was like, no, like, that is what we should be doing. And I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, yeah. He's like he's talking about like the harms of alcohol and the what it caused him to feel during those times and how he used it, and then he's just immediately. But I guess that's just his testament to Kyle Chan. He just loves Kyle Chan so much he doesn't mind if Kyle Chan promotes whiskey on there.
Yeah,
So yeah, Tom Sandoval has been sober. He also quit smoking cigarettes, right? We heard,
yeah,
which is
that's huge.
that's huge for him. I mean, he was smoking behind the scenes of like every single scene of Vanderpump Rules. If you look closely enough, he's just like, a champion
Yeah,
cigarette smoker. So he fully
yeah,
quit that. He They talk about why Tom Sandoval and the Most Extras decided to go on tour, because a lot of people were like, why the hell is he just going through life and pretending this didn't happen? And he's up on stage and he's laughing and he's singing songs, and like he should be, I don't know, taking it time to reflect or whatever. So they talk about the decision behind that, which was that they already had the tour fully booked before Scandival happened. And if they would have canceled the dates based on Scandival, they would have been completely blacklisted as a band throughout the entire country, which I
yeah.
understand that. I mean, it's true. If you back out on all the venues when you're already booked, they said that their booking agent would have fired them. So I guess for people who, hate Tom Sandoval, they don't care about the success of his band. They're like, you could have just backed out and not done it. But for him and for his bandmates and whatever, that's a reasonable decision to make. I mean,
Yeah.
I understand why he had to adhere to the tour, and it made sense to me why they did it.
I forgot that he literally had a show that very first Friday night.
Yeah.
Like, 6 hours after the TMZ article dropped. Like, that was so
Yeah.
crazy.
I mean, it makes him seem a little less craven and like desperate for attention if you imagine that this is just something that they could not. Oh, and he also said financially he couldn't give it up too because he lost all of his sponsors. He wasn't going to be on Winter House. So, I was happy to know that fact because you can still, have your opinion of Tom Sandoval, but it's good to know, I guess a little bit behind the scenes of what happened.
Yeah, that was interesting when he was talking about the producers gave him a ultimatum about he had to film with Lisa and Sheena to be allowed to do Winter House.
Yeah.
Like, I thought it was interesting that those two things are like very much connected.
Yeah, like the
You know,
same Bravo executives or whatever can influence your decision to work on one show and then hold the carrot of working on another show. So he admitted that he just continued filming for the opportunity to go on Winter House, and then he said that Winter House just said, "Hey, this is not." What did he say? Winter House said they were like, "I don't think this. There's no point in you going to Winter House anymore." So even though he did commit to the scenes, they just said, "Don't be on Winter House." I I I honestly can't understand that decision. Why? I mean, I know they want Winter House to be really fun and carefree and be like a vacation with a bunch of people, but do you think that they thought that Winter House would have such like hatred towards it that nobody would watch because he was so vilified at that point?
right. I mean, that's ugh, because when does that come? Doesn't that come out like next week or
Yeah, it's
something?
like it's on October. I mean, I feel like it would have actually been
That would have been a
perfectly.
tasty treat for us.
Yeah, it would have been perfectly timed. I mean, the world cannot hold a grudge as long as we want to about Tom Sandoval. I mean, eventually in season 11, there are going to be things we're going to see, and people are going to rally behind him. I already see people being very spirited towards him again. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
it went from 90% hatred to now I'd say 70% hatred.
Well, he
Um,
even said that Ariana unpacked some boxes in his presence. She did not make eye contact, but they shared a space for
yes.
about 15 minutes, which I thought that was very funny that he was like proud and happy to have made that progress where she could just like like rip open some Amazon boxes while he's in the room.
Yeah, he said that the boxes were so high that they were covering her face, and then she would open one by one until it got lower up into her face, so he saw who was behind the boxes. But yeah, it was interesting that that's the bar for their relationship in the house. I mean, if it is. I mean, in his defense, it is a little better that she would even be in the same room as him.
Yeah, he said that she said hello to Billy Lee.
Right.
Um, so I don't know. It's interesting.
Well, what? Well, I mean, just to get back to Winter House, I like I don't understand. I guess they thought the hatred would last so long and they didn't want it to like affect Winter House. But having a time capsule of when Tom Sandoval was the most hated man in the world, and then he goes to the north or whatever, a
Yeah,
vacation house they would have been talking about it nonstop with him, and you would have gotten like his unvarnished wreck of of self on that
yeah,
show. What a time capsule we could have witnessed, and it would have been a time now where we would have wanted to see that. We wouldn't have had so much hatred towards him. That was a really bad decision.
totally.
Kyle Cook talking Tom Sandoval through this whole thing. Schwartz there talking through it.
Oh my God, he
Corey,
was probably, yeah, like a total shell of a human being at that time.
Kyle Cook would have had to been like, I cheated too, and Amanda forgave me. Like, there's cheaters in that house. Schwartz is a
Oh yeah,
cheater. Corey cheats probably on everybody he's ever been with. Like,
yeah,
it would have been, and they couldn't have. It would have been interesting to see also how how the house aligned. Like, there would have been people who absolutely hated him, like the below deck people or whatever. Like some people would have
yeah,
hated him. Some people would have been like, we can't treat a human who's in our house like this. Like, we have to offer him something. So I don't know. That was a dumb decision.
for sure. I'm curious how much they're gonna make Schwartz deal with the elephant in the room, or if they can kind of just ignore it since it doesn't really affect him directly.
Schwartz is so what ambivalent or so non-confrontational that he'll have no valuable things to say about this. You know, he won't give any definitive answer about how he feels about this entire thing. I mean, it already, Winter House already kind of suffered for the lack of Southern Charm people, and then now it missed this Tom Sandoval moment. It's kind of like a bummer.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how interesting I'll find it because I don't have a deep history with Below Deck. But yeah, so I'm trying to think what else happens on that Sandoval pod. He at one point, I mean, he gets kind of dark. Like he says that he was, I don't know, in a very dark place. He I don't know, he basically said he could imagine a world in which he would no longer be on this earth.
Yeah. Yes. He said that. He said that, like, he came back from one of his first shows. You know, he's still the most hated man in America. He hasn't slept. He hasn't showered. He was sleep deprived. He was probably drinking a lot. And then he said he, like, got home and Ariana is filming a Duracell battery ad. And, like, his alarm is going off in the house, is in his assistant, which I'm sure this has the shadow of Tom's perspective on it. You know, this is cloudy with his memory for sure, but you could sort of get into the mindset that he's talking about, where he just felt miserable, the world hates him. Then Ariana is getting this like campaign which is using him, and she's being, you know, glorified right now. And then he comes home and he says that he got in such a dark place that he really considered ending his life. And Billy Lee came over and she took him to a comedy show. Anthony Jeselnik. I'm just kidding. It wasn't. I'm just kidding. It was, but she took him to a comedy show, and then Kyle Chan asked, or Jason said, was it a funny comedy show? And Tom Sandoval said, yeah, it was okay.
Imagine being like literally suicidal, and someone's like, "Do you want to go to like the Improv?"
Right, Hollywood Improv. Yeah, I mean, that wouldn't be my go-to to try to get my spirits up.
I mean, honestly, not to give them credence because I do think they're a little bit like bottom feeders, but I was kind of like, thank God that these people are willing to hang out with him, because if he didn't at least have these people, he'd be like truly fucked. And like, again, like, whatever, I don't support his behavior. Like, I know everyone like hates him, but for a while there, it really was like, we will not be done until they're both dead. Yeah. Like, it was so dark.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. And no one in the world, I'm sure some people will, but no one in the world thinks that Tom Sandoval should have even been, I would say, contemplating ending his life over this thing, over cheating. I mean, I don't care that it's with the best friend. I don't care that, you know, it was during when Ariana was away for a funeral. I mean, all the horrible, horrible details of this scandal, not one of them warrants someone contemplating ending their life, not even close. Yeah. So and I guess people will say, I don't believe him. Like, you would say that, but that's you have to believe someone when they say that. Like, it's pretty, I think it's horrible, unless people think he's just trying to get sympathy. But I don't know. I believe the place that he was in and the things he said, it sounds like that was probably the case for him.
He really made it clear that he did not shower for an extended period of time. So anyone that encountered him at that time would be reporting back that he smells like shit.
Yeah, and so you can sort of pinpoint where those rumors started, that he stunk, because he said it. And if you watch that era of like the TMZ photos and the Scandival, like the season finale, he was wearing that full black outfit for like 2 or 3 weeks. Why did he feel?
He said that on purpose because he knew that there were the rumors, and so he tried to tie it in with like, he was like, I was in a really dark place. I didn't shower for a week. He was like, you may have heard that I didn't smell good. I was in a really dark place.
I do think there was something unsaid about the reason he brought that up. It was sort of like, if you heard anything about me stinking in that era, you can pin it to this, but he didn't want to bring it up specifically. But why did he? I didn't actually understand why he couldn't shower.
I guess because it was just sad. Like, he couldn't like get the energy.
He was wallowing in filth.
I guess so. He was like, I'm a piece of shit. I should smell like one.
So it was interesting to get like some, I guess, to know exactly why he did stink during that period. And then there was a little bit of Rachel Leviss update, which I'll just go through
Yeah.
very quickly. So he says that this was love, on his end between him and Rachel Leviss. He says that he is very sad to learn that Rachel Leviss does not consider what they had to be love. He says, if you didn't love me and we didn't love each other, then it makes this 7-month affair that we, had together seem even worse in his mind. Because it's like, if you didn't do it for love, what the hell do we do it for? So he's saying in his mind, he thought of this as love. And then he said that during this time, in the wake of Sandoval, him and Rachel really he leaned on her for emotional support because she's the only other person in the world who was going through this with him. Once she left, his communication with her was so limited because she could only call twice a day from the facility. And for a while, she was talking to him twice a day, and he would look forward to those calls. And then I think as her treatment evolved and as she started to probably think about the ramifications of everything and what he put her through and all this stuff and probably all the therapy that she went through, the calls start getting less and less frequent. So he's on the road, he's touring. I don't know if this is the end of his drinking, but he's still going through it with the world, still being paparazzi's happening. And then Rachel is, relying on him less and less because she's getting the treatment that she needs, and maybe she's realizing that this wasn't love on her end. And then he said that he hasn't talked to her since June.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, and he did bring up that the filming that they did together in her apartment or whatever, which I was kind of like, ooh, you're going to talk about that, because when she talked about that, she basically said that they cut out the fact that she mentioned the unauthorized sex recording. So it was interesting. I feel like he also tried to get some version in for himself, of that situation.
Yes. Yeah, that did seem like he was skirting around a very sensitive topic, but it was, I thought, notable that he thought that scene came off really badly as well.
Yeah.
Because it did. I remember that was the most awkward scene I had ever seen in my life up to that point. Seeing them, they were so uncomfortable around each other. That was interesting. So I don't know how many more, I don't know how this podcast can be sustained, because how many more details is he going to be able to share from the last 6 months or 7 months and keep people engaged and only bring on Billy Lee and people who are comfortable being on a, still controversial figures podcast?
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't know how long this can last. And also with his attention span, I don't know if this is going to be a long running podcast.
And didn't Rachel also say she's going to have a podcast? So it's just everyone, every single person on Vanderpump Rules will have a podcast.
Yeah, just not James.
Which I bet he will.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Wait, you're right. I mean, Schwartz will never have a podcast, which, props to him for making that decision. And I think that he would never do that. James, as of now, doesn't have one. And then everyone else does, right?
Yeah,
Saucy,
former
Jackson,
class
Brittany,
members, yeah.
Kristen. Yeah, damn. Wow. Yeah, I mean, it is.
Let's
That
just
is
let
interesting.
anybody have a fucking podcast these days.
I know. Okay, well, did we get? I mean, we did what we said we wouldn't do, which is talk a full hour of news.
I knew we couldn't be stopped. I knew it.
Yeah. Do you want to? I don't know how to take a break on this Riverside thing. I think if I click stop, we can pick up recording again. Do you need a little Turtle Time certified piss and we can test it?
Sure.
Okay, so I'm going to click stop, and I'm going to hope that it lets us just pick back up. Also, I wanted to say that this podcast has been powered by Riverside FM.
Powered by Riverside FM.
Okay, so I'm going to stop, and then I'm sure we can start again. You have faith that if I click stop, it'll let us start again, right?
Yeah, I think I'm going to use this as a certified lozenge break.
Okay, that sounds good. All right, let's pause, and we will come right back. And we are back from pissing.
Great.
Did you did a lozenge?
I did a lozenge. I spit part of it out so that people didn't have to hear me sucking on it. But I also prepared myself some throat coat tea. In my Romy and Michelle I invented Post-its mug that an old coworker got me like 10 years ago.
Oh, that's fun.
So hopefully the tea will help me. I definitely am better than I was earlier. I could not have done this 3 hours ago.
Okay, good. All right. Well, thank you for doing it. I appreciate it. And I'm sure our little turtle cuties listening will appreciate it.
I couldn't stand the thought of no episode going up tomorrow. People depend on us.
I know. Yeah, that would have been very sad. Okay, well, do you want to talk about Southern Charm?
Yeah.
So this episode is a week old, but like we told our little turtle cuties, get on our schedule with us. Why don't you take a break, watch Southern Charm at a leisurely pace, give it a couple days of thought. And so we are going to be talking about, contrary to you thinking that we would be talking about the episode that aired last night. No. We're talking about an episode that aired 7 days ago. But everyone should be doing the Little Turtle Cutie Challenge, which is watch Southern Charm 4 or 5 days late. So this sounds topical, right?
Exactly. I know this morning when I was like dying, I was like, maybe I won't feel better until the nighttime, and maybe we can just record the podcast at like 8 p.m. and we can include Southern Charm because it's going to take me so long to get my shit together. But no. We're going to Baba do from last week. And I will say just up top that JT is a funny little guy.
He really is. He is. So I'm glad you started right with JT. I really liked him. I mean, who knows what this guy will do throughout the run of the season. He could be one of the worst people we've ever known in our lives. He could have committed some egregious acts in his past that we don't know about. But for right now, I thought he came out very strong and felt very a part of the group in a natural way, which is hard to do.
Yeah, he had I don't remember if we already said this to each other, but Shane vibes. Not just because he's petite, but like his sense of humor is kind of cheeky.
Oh, Shane from the OC.
Yeah,
he does have a little bit of that Shane. I thought of him. He's also like a little bit of like he has a little bit of a Shep vibe to him too, but Shep mixed with someone else, maybe Shane. It was almost like we got a new version of Shep, one that's less. Shep has been sort of brought down by life, it seems, this season, and he's reconciling or recovering from the Taylor thing. But JT had a lot of energy, and he seems like he can be a little bit of a stinker sometimes.
Totally. I mean, this episode is called Spilling the JT.
Yes.
So they put all their eggs in the JT basket.
Yeah, and not to just say JT and skirt over the other two cast members, but I also thought Rod came out strong as hell. He was funny, kind of fun, sweet, and that date with Olivia, that was like his main scene. He just got one scene where he's introduced, taking Olivia on a date. I actually felt like that was kind of romantic. Sometimes I was just going to say, sometimes a date can be very awkward if they don't have any chemistry. I mean, obviously, like sometimes even Austin and Olivia scenes from like last season or whatever, I'm like, you guys don't really have much chemistry at all. What is going on here? But there was like some blushing and a kiss that felt kind of natural.
The kiss, I like generally like kisses make my skin crawl. Like I was like screaming. I was like, like I don't want to see it. Like because it was kind of awkward. Like it happened in slow motion, and then it was that like first kiss thing of like, was that okay? Like, do you like, are you down? Like, and I was just like, I can't handle it. But he seems like a nice guy. I also like that he's willing to take the bold stance of dating his friend's quote ex.
Well, are they friends? Because I didn't see. They didn't explain they didn't explain Rod's connection to the group, if I remember correctly. They just he just came with Olivia on a date, and I didn't hear how he was connected to like the boys of the group.
Well, I think he tells him next week.
Okay.
And then there's another guy, Rodrigo. And I
Yeah.
was like, all of a sudden we have two Rods.
Yeah. So and I thought Rodrigo was actually kind of funny. The little
Yeah.
moments he had on screen, I felt like he wasn't awkward. He is a natural friend of Austin's. So I think Bravo, tell me if I'm wrong, but I believe Shep, Austin, and Craig got like carte blanche to cast who they actually wanted because they're like, we have open spots. Like the casting is shifting in Southern Charm. Who do you guys know in your life that you actually think might be good on the show? Because the show now is centered around you three and your exes. That's,
Right.
like we talked about last week, that is what Southern Charm is. So I feel like Austin got Rodrigo in, Shep and, Craig and Shep and Austin might have said JT would be a good fit. And then Rod, I don't know how he came into the group, but I feel like they thought that he might have been a good cast member as well. Because
Yeah.
they are friends of them.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely felt natural, but I also feel like Bravo was probably like, yes, please, thank God, like, can you guys please hang out with like a gay man so that America thinks that you guys aren't scary bad men. Like,
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I guess there could have been that decision made as well. It felt like JT's timeline was a little ambiguous or didn't, I wasn't exactly sure how well JT knew them because Craig said 2 years that they had known him. And then JT said, I've known these guys for a really long time. And I was like, which is it? Was it 2 years ago? Because I guess he moved to Charleston in the pandemic. And he said that he would see the guys out at the bars. Like he'd be like, if you or I went to Charleston or we lived there and we just saw the cast members hanging out and he was like, I want to chug beers with those guys. So it seemed like he just said, can I be your friend?
Yeah. Did you see I think it was in our DMs, I don't remember if it was a Patreon or just a regular old Turtle Cutie, but anyways, one of our listeners went to Charleston and she went to the Craig's Pillow store and she had an encounter, a sighting of Madison and her husband. And I was like, wow, that's pure gold. Like, if we ever do go to Charleston, we must have a sighting.
Yes, I want to. I mean, I think next season when they're filming, you and I and whoever we want to bring, we go to Charleston for 1 week and we just hit all the spots. Republic, Ink Lounge, Deck Energy, or whatever the hell that one place was called.
Yeah.
Right? We just go to all the spots.
Yeah. Okay, wait. Can we talk about I feel like Taylor is seeking sympathy for having quit her orthodontal assistant job. Like she's like, thanks a lot, Shep. And I was like, girl, like no one thought that was a good idea.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah, I didn't want to be too mean to her, but and because you said it, I'll just say what I really felt, which is that, I don't really understand blaming Shep for that. I mean, you are in control of yourself and your life, and everyone said that was a bad idea. Austin specifically, I remember telling her that was a bad idea and told Shep that was a bad idea. I mean, that's not really his fault. I guess she just fully thought that she was going to be his wife and be his family member, so she quit. But I don't know. I mean, that was her decision. And then also she said the new job she got is from Shep. It was Shep's friend who needed an alcohol spokesperson or whatever. So I don't know. I mean, I don't blame Shep too much for that.
Yeah, I mean, it was like obviously completely selfish and tone deaf for him to ask her to do that, but like that, the fact that she actually did it is
and a part of her had to know that this was an outcome of dating Shep. I mean, she was warned about it all the time. They fought a lot. He called her an idiot multiple times.
Egg toss.
Like, at the egg toss, he called her a goddamn idiot or whatever. Like, everyone warned you about Shep. You were basically there to like reform him, and like you were the girlfriend who potentially could change him, but everyone knew for the most part that Shep could always go back to his old ways. So I didn't have a lot of sympathy for that. She did have a very, very sort of cringeworthy presentation at Republic to
You should
So
fire her, whatever that brand is. I would be like, get this girl out of here.
date, do you think how because it was very bad. I mean, the amount of ums and likes and like the lackluster presentation, it was a sight to behold. I almost was like it didn't seem so edited to where I was like, the editors are just having fun with her. It actually seemed like it was maybe that much of a flop.
Yeah, it seemed really bad. Like Leva was like, "Yikes! Like you're lucky that I like you, that I'll even entertain this," because it was pretty bad.
Yeah, and then Leva has to sort of say, well, maybe we should go over here and like drink these, and then maybe have a talk or whatever. Like obviously the a natural way to promote this would have been to offer them all to drink it and have a little bit of fun.
Right.
So and
Yeah.
then Leva gets into Taylor's sort of outburst at Craig, and Taylor immediately admits that this is just some bullshit rumor that she hears, that anybody hears about anyone. Like, there's probably a rumor about every single cast member on Southern Charm. So she just repeated some unfounded rumor and immediately backs down and admits that what Craig said was right, that she's not truly mad at Craig. She's mad at Shep.
Yeah. Okay, so then all the boys go golfing. This is our first like big JT moment.
Yeah.
Austin sort of chides him and says, "What's with those Legend of Bagger Vance clubs?" And I was like, what does he mean by that? Like, and then it turned out to be that they were old, like as if they were from the era of that film. And I was like,
Well,
I haven't thought about that movie in a really long time.
No, they were Legend of Bagger Vance edition, and they had Will Smith's signature on them.
And Shia LaBeouf.
And Shia
Isn't
LaBeouf.
he in that?
Who else is in Legend of Bagger Vance? Will Smith.
Yeah, who's the female interest? I need
Was
to look it up
he
because
he was a ghost, right?
I don't know if I've actually seen it.
I think Will Smith is a ghost that golfers see sort of in the trees when they're doing their putts, and he gives you advice because he's like a legendary golfer at a golf course. It's sort of like a shitty Field of Dreams, like a golf
Okay.
version of Field of Dreams. But
It
yeah,
came out in 2000.
and is it Will Smith? And it's Will Smith, right? I have to be right about
Matt
that one.
Damon and Charlize Theron. Sorry, Shia LaBeouf is not in that movie. Did he do a different movie where he plays a caddy?
Let me think about that. Shia LaBeouf, a caddy. No, he was in Holes, and
Oh,
but
stick.
yeah. So anyway, I don't know, but yeah, that was a kind of a strange reference, for sure. And it was also Austin immediately starts needling him, like Craig says, which is like that is sort of the Southern Charm boys way, like to immediately start, yeah, like you said, chiding a new member. But Austin really sort of has it out for JT instantly. And what I keep thinking about is that at some point in the season, JT does like a full blown headbutt on Austin. Do you remember that scene?
Oh,
Yeah, so like at some point in this season, JT and Austin are going to get into it physically, and JT is going. I'm almost positive JT headbutts the shit out of Austin, or at least starts to headbutt him in a fight.
well, can't wait for that.
Yeah,
I also liked that JT wasn't fucking around on the golf course. He just had an entire bottle of rosé in hand.
yes, yeah, he was ready to party, and it was a great introduction. JT has two things he wants to let the world and the Southern Charm cast know. It's that Taylor is amazing, and there's never been a better person in the world than Taylor. Like he's seen every person in the world basically, and he says that Taylor is the best that Shep will ever do. So he says that first to Austin and Craig, and then he also says, "What the hell is going on with Austin and Taylor's relationship? Does Shep get bothered by this whole thing?" So first he brings it up at the golf course, and then when they go drinking again later in the episode, he brings up the same 2 points over again.
Yeah, he said that he had a bunch of people out to London and Paris for the World Cup, and Taylor, I guess that was part of her trip that she talked about. And he said that she hooked up with one of his friends while she was there.
Right.
So that was interesting. And then then it goes straight into the Rod and Olivia date. And what did you think about the fact that he had to bring his own bread to the restaurant to have them make a gluten-free sandwich for her?
So I think that, I'm so glad you asked. I think that it was obviously overly performative because he knows this is going to be his first time on camera. You know, like I can't help but think about that fact that obviously if he wants to portray himself as like chivalrous or a gentleman, that's not a hard thing for you to do. She's gluten-free. You go get bread for her so they can make her a sandwich. But I do think from what I saw of him, which is only like 5 minutes or 6 minutes, it does seem like he might be a very good guy and actually has that like chivalrous spirit. So I think he went above and beyond, partially obviously, you know, for his first scene on camera or potentially his first scene, but also it did seem possibly indicative of his personality. I mean, I liked him. I thought he was funny, that he was sweet. I think he genuinely likes Olivia. It seemed like it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I thought it was funny when he was like, oh my God, you're blushing. And he goes, I'm here for it.
Yeah.
You're blushing,
I like that
I'm
too.
here for it.
I like it too. And he was actually, he made 2 good jokes. He said the parasite joke, which I don't know if he goes, that's what happens when you have a parasite, or he started to say parasite about Olivia.
Her living with her parents. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's good. Yeah. So that was fun. And I'm excited to see him with the boys, you know, next episode and see how he gets along with them.
For sure. We get a little peek into Patricia and Whitney's house. There's a new butler in town, which makes me sad because I love Michael and I hope he's doing okay. I feel like I've brought it up at some point, but I've gone into many rabbit holes that lead me to Michael's Instagram, and I hope he's doing okay.
Does he seem like he is?
Well, I believe he's in a wheelchair forever now because he had a stroke. That's why he's not her butler anymore. But he seems in good spirits. I just, I worry for him because I really loved him a lot. And I love that Whitney came out for, you know, happy hour with his mom, and she's like, sit up straight and get your feet down. And he's like literally like a 50-year-old man. He's just like having martinis with his mom. She's like bossing him around.
Is he 50?
He might be.
Damn. All right. Well, yeah, that was fun. And then I'm trying not to, you know, cast judgment on this new butler because I liked Michael so much, you know.
He's 55.
55. I mean, he looks good, right?
He looks something.
You don't think he looks good?
He just kind of looks like a vampire.
I'm trying not to hate on Whitney so much because I feel like I'm so hard on him, and he did nothing in that scene that made me like shiver to my core like he normally does. So I was actually okay with that scene. It was actually kind of fun. The new butler was, you know, I'm trying not. He can never compare to Michael, but he was okay. He was a little less chatty, it seemed, than Michael. Like I couldn't get a sense of his personality, but he definitely had butler energy. And I thought when he presented those martinis, that Patricia would possibly comment on if they were even in the same realm as Michael's famous martinis, but it seemed like she purposefully didn't comment on how good they were.
Yeah. They did look good. I like that he had BBE, Big Butler Energy.
Yes.
Did you like when Whitney quoted the Keebler elves?
I did actually. I got to give it to Whitney. He's one of the biggest stinkers I've ever seen in the Bravo universe, but that was funny to quote the Keebler elves. And I love when Patricia said, I was expecting something from, who'd she say, Stravinsky? or like,
yeah, like some deep author poll.
She was like, I was expecting something much more esoteric or whatever. I mean, one of the huge draws for me of Southern Charm in the early seasons was how many literary references there were, like the Glass Menagerie and Thomas quoting Shakespeare and Shep talking about whatever the hell, Tennessee Williams and stuff. So it was
such like Southern like drawing room
Yes.
after dinner drinks to talk about the finer things
Yeah.
that
Yes.
culture has to bring.
Yeah, I do. So I did like the glimpse of what Southern Charm used to be because it has strayed far from that now. It is not
For
like that
sure.
anymore.
Yeah. And then I did appreciate the detail that Patricia says um, that her father didn't get married until he was in his 60s, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, and she says that Whitney is like on that path.
Yeah.
Um, there was a kind of, I would say there was some Madison stuff strewn throughout. I
Yeah.
guess Madison is now like the fourth most what's that called? Like most prominent cast member now, which is a huge
Yeah.
that's a huge leap in her trajectory on the show. I mean, she went from being with Austin. I barely think she was on the 8th season, and then now she's like one of the main cast members. I thought it was interesting that she threw away Taylor's dildo. She definitely didn't have to
Yeah.
do that on camera, but it seemed very pointed that she was like, "Let's throw this thing in the trash."
Yeah. That's a waste. Give
Yeah,
it to someone in need.
yeah, that would have been.
Um,
And then there was a Vanita scene. Vanita is like the least organic cast member on the show. I mean, it's
what
it's
are they
basic.
gonna do with her?
I don't know, but it's like she's on a spinoff. It's like she has her own show where they're just filming her at her house and she barely gets to interact with anyone. I mean, when she was at
She's
the
like not
party
allowed
last,
to leave.
yeah, we're just like getting glimpses of her home life with barely any interaction with the other cast members. And then Madison comes over to like do her a favor. It seemed very inauthentic to go to like help her redo her full garden because Madison won best garden of the month twice.
Like manual labor. I was also disappointed because at first I thought that they were going to introduce us to Vanita having, oh, my curtains. There's a ghost.
Well, little ghost just came in.
Um, I thought that they were going to introduce us to Vanita having a cat, but then her dog chased the cat away, and it turned out it was just like a random neighborhood cat. And I was like, points docked. I thought I was going to at least be vibing with her being a cat lady, but apparently not.
Yeah, and then Vanita sort of has I would say, tacked on like reason to keep her storyline going, which is that she wants to host like a girls' brunch to get Taylor back on her feet. It sounded very rehearsed,
Yeah.
very very coordinated way for Vanita to have a part in the story, which so far this season, I don't know. I mean, so far in the entire Vanita's run on the show, she really hasn't felt organic to the cast at all.
It's weird. She's like Rapunzel in a tower, just like totally separate.
Yeah.
And then the boys are on a bar crawl, and I have a question. If you drive a golf cart instead of a car, are you allowed to drink and drive?
Good question. I looked it up, and yes, you're allowed to be drunk as hell on a golf cart. And
That seems
it,
like a bad idea, but okay.
it's a loophole that not a lot of people use. But yeah, I looked it up in Charleston and in other cities. If it's a golf cart and not a car, you're allowed to drive drunk as hell on the street. You just have to beep frequently if you're drunk while driving a golf cart.
That's what Shannon Bedore needs. I think people do that down there. I don't know about the drinking part, but I feel like Orange County is a place where it's popular to drive golf carts.
Yeah, so this to me was, I mean, this was the most entertaining part of the episode. It was like a 20-minute real time bar crawl with the boys, and we got to see them go to 3 different bars in a row on that golf cart. I mean, it
Yeah.
was really fun, and the conversations that happened between them did feel. I don't know, like actual conversations they'd be having. Like they got into conversations about their exes. JT brought up his feelings about Taylor, and it was just cool to like watch them progress throughout the day and then land at that sunset, the rooftop, watching the sunset together. It was kind of
Oh, yeah.
fun.
It's funny that so I wonder if Shep is aware that his I don't know, joie de vivre for being a bachelor is like our appetite for that, at least mine, is waning, because when he was like, they were like, oh, did you use the apps while you were in Australia? And he was like bragging about how he like met twins and that he had organic success with ladies, that he didn't need the apps. And I was just like, this isn't like charming anymore. Like he's like, I had a little organic success, and I was just like, gross. Like,
Yeah.
it's
I
just
mean,
like not as fun anymore.
yeah. I mean, I think that I think Austin and Shep, are going to live the Whitney life and the T-Rav life, but they just are not going to admit it to the audience so that we still care about the relationships they have. But like, I really imagine that like Austin is not going to settle down until he's 50 years old. Like,
Yeah.
you know, they are the type of guys who want to, well, I mean, you know, whatever. I could be totally wrong, but I just think that Shep is a person who like now does not believe in marriage. Maybe he'll change when he's 55 or 60. And I think Austin doesn't want to admit it to himself, but I think he's enjoying this time where he's a local celebrity and also a, you know, a huge, a Bravo celebrity, but he's also like, they must be the most famous people by far. I mean, it's like Bill Murray, Danny McBride, and then the Southern Charm cast. I mean, they're like probably heroes in their town. It's not like Los Angeles where you see Tom Sandoval, but then you also see everybody else who lives here. Like, they are heroes. And so I bet that's a lifestyle that's very hard to just pack up, especially if you just want to like date people all the time.
Yeah, for sure. I loved like it's later at the end at the rooftop, but Shep is talking about how much marriage has changed, and he says the most like rudimentary observations about that, like, you know, marriage isn't like it used to be. Like, no one really wants to get married, or like he's like, women want to work. And I was just like, yeah, that was true like 30 years ago. Like, what are you talking about?
I have no idea what he was talking about. I feel like he was trying to be evolved or whatever, like his new perspective on life, and he just said something so dumb, like regressive, 30 years too late or whatever. I don't know what he was talking about, but he's just saying, he's just telling us and his friends that like he's probably not going to ever, you know, get married until way later. And I think Taylor was his one chance, and he knows now that the havoc he wreaked in her life, that he's not going to do that to someone else, you know, knowing how he is.
Yeah, it does feel like, you know, sometimes you're like, who's going to be the woman to break the curse? Like for George Clooney, it was Amal. And you're like, wow, like he just needed like the smartest woman on earth who's also a model, like that would change his life around. But it's like, then you think of someone like Leonardo DiCaprio and you're like, yeah, that woman like does not exist. Like, he's not trying to find an Amal.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, I think Leonardo DiCaprio is on the like Jack Nicholson plan, where you just did you saw those photos when Jack Nicholson was like 75 and he's just like on a yacht with like
eating a sandwich in the like Adriatic Sea.
Yeah, exactly. He's in an inner tube and there are just 10 women surrounding him. Like, I feel like Leonardo DiCaprio wants that exact lifestyle. And maybe...
Which I'm like, sure, fine, whatever.
Yeah, totally. So the bar crawl, this is when JT starts to really shine. His... he doesn't care about talking about the elephant in the room, which is a great trait to have in a new cast member. He specifically, once Shep arrives on their bar crawl, he says, Shep, how'd you let Taylor get away from you? You got to marry her immediately. She's one of the best people in the world. I love Taylor. Basically saying that. And we see scenes where I think he starts to try to date Taylor. So it's like, he is interested, like Craig says. JT is specifically interested in Taylor.
Shep is like, there's plenty of fish in the sea, man. Like, let it go. Like, it's over. And then he's like, yeah, but do you care that she hangs out with Austin all the time? And he's like, no, because he says more than once that he considers Austin a life raft to her, so that he at least has contact, or like he can keep tabs on her. But I think Austin is keeping too good of tabs. And then this next part where JT calls out that, quote, Austin and Taylor had a sleepover, it was Austin's defense or lack thereof was very much giving Sandoval she dipped out.
It really was. You got to watch someone lie in real time, and he got all very particular about the details. Like, no, we were drinking, a bunch of people, then I went to my room, then she just happened to be the one person who stayed, and she showed up in my room and goes, hey, so what are we doing today? And he was like, whoa, you slept over? It was a very belabored excuse for why this happened.
Yeah, like I'm like, do you live in a 15-bedroom mansion? Like I'm pretty sure you can tell when someone's in your house.
Right. So does any part of you think that possibly Craig
Sorry.
that's all right. Do you that Craig possibly already knows this happened? Do you think any of them knew this happened? That there was it's more than likely that this happened, and they're sort of letting the drama unfold as if like so that Austin can get caught in real time, or did you feel like it felt natural?
That's a good question. I feel like maybe Craig had a twinkle in his eye that he knew something because then he was like, so have you guys ever kissed? Like he took it to the next level.
Yeah.
I imagine it seemed like Shep really didn't know.
Yes.
And then Craig, of course, took like the dorkiest road of bringing spy movies into it and was like, when Austin said that they didn't kiss, he looked down and to the left. That's a classic giveaway, which was like kind of like Schwartz vibes, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I like that though because Austin did exactly that. I mean, he really did.
Yeah. No, he was absolutely lying. And then Shep is like, all right, I actually like don't even want to know. Like, can we just stop talking about this? I truly don't even care to know about this.
Yeah, because at this point, JT is saying what a wonderful person he lost in his life. And then JT is talking about how Austin is potentially sleeping with her. And he's like, I don't want to know anymore. I really don't want to talk about my exes anymore. And then JT doesn't let it go. He's like, Austin, swear on the Bible that you've done nothing with Taylor. Like it was kind of awesome. He was very brave and confident that like to do that. I think in his first scene, it really it showed a lot of
He
promise.
felt like he wanted a gold star from the producers. Like he was like,
Yes.
put me in, coach. Like I'm ready to do it. And like it happens at the big deck energy place and then the rooftop place. Like that conversation like comes up at all three places. And Austin reveals, this isn't necessarily a necessary detail, but Austin said that he had sex 6 days ago.
Right.
And when Craig and Madison were on Watch What Happens Live after this episode, and Craig said that Austin gets laid the most.
Yep.
So he's really
he said-
using his time.
Yeah, he said currently Austin is in his sex era and having sex regularly.
Yeah. Did
So-
you also like? Oh, sorry.
Oh no, you go ahead. You go ahead.
On Watch What Happens Live, Madison's husband was in the audience, and they asked him who of the men on the show he likes the least, and he basically like they kind of like didn't make him answer. Like he was not gonna say anyone because he was nice. And
Yeah.
then like when the camera panned away, he was like, Shep.
Yeah.
He was like,
that,
fuck it, I don't like Shep.
that was interesting for him not to like Shep. I mean, he could have easily said Austin because Madison hates
Mhm.
Austin so much, but he went with Shep.
Yeah, he said that Austin's a nice guy. So that's
Wow.
interesting. I did love the story about JT reveals that he was once married and
Mhm.
divorced, and that it was a little bit of a green card situation. But that now his ex lives with a ski instructor in the Alps. And I was like, that's amazing. Like, what a great story. Tell me more.
Yeah, that was great. He's got a backstory that we want to delve into further. So yeah, I mean this was a very good episode. I mean, I like that the scandal is much less of a big deal than Sandoval, but still we get to watch it in real time from the very start. I like that it's already a part of it's not going to be, prolonged and they're going to keep teasing it. It's like it's already out there right now. It's like all they're talking about. So I think it'll be nice because with Sandoval, we had to wait for the entire time and then only the finale really dealt with it. So it's nice to have like a real-time scandal happen during the actual filming.
Right. Yeah, and it's interesting because Shep, like, you can tell that this hurts him, but at the same time, he possibly like doesn't care that much.
Yeah, I think Craig at the end, the final scene, as the sun is setting behind them beautifully, he gets Shep to admit that he would find it pretty fucked up and that he thinks there's probably a 50% chance that they did it because they knew they could get away with it and he would be hurt by it, which is a big admission for him to say because he's been pretty, nonchalant about what Taylor means to him. But I'm glad
Yeah.
to know that it will potentially affect him if Austin did that.
I also like all the semantics of like Austin is like they're like, so if you did have sex with her but it was only once, would you tell me? And he's like, well, I don't think that would be worth telling you. Not it didn't happen, but if it did, I wouldn't tell you.
Right. And Shep's like, so you're saying you wouldn't have told me if this was just a one night stand?
So yeah,
Shep and
kind of
Austin,
funny.
yeah, I mean they all. It hasn't really been delved into this season, but they do have a contentious relationship. The three of them, like they each have
Yeah.
periods of where Shep hates Craig sometimes. Craig really hates Shep sometimes. I think Shep is competitive with both Austin and Craig, so I feel like we're going to get a lot of that as the season goes on.
For sure.
Cool. All right.
Um,
Well, how about you want to take a little trip to Salt Lake City?
that's right. Technically Palm Springs.
I was so late. Yeah, technically Palm Springs. I was gonna say take a trip to Palm Springs, but I wasn't sure if we would know exactly if you would know what I was talking about. But yeah, they are in Palm Springs. I was so shocked that this was day 2 of their Palm Springs trip because
Okay.
just because of how impactful last week's episode was. I was like, okay, they're just
Yeah.
waking up on the second day of their trip.
Totally. This episode is called Don't Be a Drag,
Yes.
which is a good title. And then Angie makes her own shirt because she didn't get one. It says all tricks, no trust, which sure. I don't think I sent this to you on TikTok, but someone posted, I don't know if it was COVID era or what, but Jen Shaw made a WAP video, like as
Yes.
in wet ass pussy,
Uh-huh.
where she's dancing with like her staff and stuff, and Angie's in it and Monica's in it.
Yep.
Did you see that?
I did. I just saw it. I didn't. We got tagged in that, and I didn't know what the hell it was because I didn't recognize Angie or Monica in it. But yeah, I mean But yeah, I mean it's interesting that they did that. But I knew that Jen and Monica were, or I mean, Monica and Angie were Jen's, loyal friends up to a point. So like I wasn't that surprised by it. I guess it's just interesting that they were doing a WAP dance together. But
For sure.
Angie and Monica sort of have like you were closer to Jen fight, like who was actually her friend or whatever, because everyone is trying to deny being friends with her now, even though we saw how close Angie was, how close Heather was, Meredith was close with Jen towards the end. So it's not really I can't fault any of them for how close they were to Jen at this point. They just were misled, and the minute they knew the heinous criminal acts that she did, that they all wrote her off.
Bamboozled, led astray.
Yeah.
So Mary, this whole episode just like refuses to participate with anything.
Yes.
And they go to do like a group activity in a park, and Mary just won't get out of the van, and she's just sitting there mumbling to herself. She goes, "That sign says humps. It usually says bumps. Wonder why it says humps." I was like, "What is going on?"
No, really. I mean, what is going on? What is going on with Mary? It's so she is a friend of technically, I believe she's considered a friend of now. But I feel like there's never been more of a blatant friend of someone that actually enacted everything it means to just be a non-full-time cast member and just decided that I don't have to do anything. I don't have to talk to who I don't want to talk to. I can just stay in the Sprinter van and go on my own little missions. But for some
Yeah.
reason, I think she is I'm so entertained by her and her position that I let it slide. I'm like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't probably tolerate it on any other franchise if it was anybody else. But the fact that it's Mary and the things she does are so weird and unique, and the fact that she can just be utilized to just talk shit about Whitney or Lisa whenever she needs to, it's kind of a good balance for Mary. I didn't really like when she was in the thick of it because she acted just like this, but you relied on her more, you know?
Right. Yeah. I was deeply influenced by her last night when she made the driver take her to McDonald's. This is literally my Diet Coke from McDonald's because I ordered, well, I didn't order it. I made, Jimmy was on his way home and I was like, can you get me McDonald's?
Did you do fish sandwich, 6 chicken nuggets?
If I ate chicken, I would have gotten the nugs, but I always get a fish fillet. So when she ordered the fish fillet, I was like, now I have to get a fish fillet.
I've never had a fish fillet.
Oh, they slap. They are underrated.
Well, I think I'm going to go right after we record this and go get a fish fillet. I've never had one.
They're, in my opinion, delicious. The bun is steamed, so it's really soft, and then it just has that sweet little piece of American cheese, tartar sauce. It really hits. Honestly, I usually, if I'm like actually getting a meal at McDonald's, I'll get 2. Sometimes they have like a meal where you get 2. But last night I just got 1 and large fries.
That's amazing. Yeah, it was fun to see Mary's McDonald's order. I was excited. I was excited seeing her read the bumps versus humps sign. I just like how she was like to Meredith at the final bar or whatever. She's like, Meredith, do you think I should really go in here or should I just stay in the van? And Meredith's it was like, you should come in with us. And she goes, no, I'm just going to stay back. It's just really funny to have one cast member who's just sitting, waiting for them in the van. It's very surreal.
Like hours.
Yeah. One thing that was kind of funny that I only noticed my second time watching that is just happening throughout is that Heather is so hung over this episode, but she doesn't talk about it. She is like half of herself. Like she is giving at half capacity the entire time. She can barely open her eyes. She can barely function. She can't even smell alcohol at the bar. She's just drinking a big water and she has no time for anything. She just can't function at all.
I can't imagine how she just went way too hard on night 1. You got to save it for night 2. But sometimes that happens when you're excited, you know?
Yeah, totally.
We have to keep that in mind in Big Bear.
Yeah, totally. So I think we can, I mean, if we're being, sort of trying to be brief, we can kind of skip over the activities. Although I was entertained by them, I liked it, but it was very much a housewives trope, an activity to just do. I did like that Heather and Angie sort of had a moment where they were coming together a little bit. But overall, it didn't really hit hard until the drag competition. Once Whitney got the reins of the event and took over, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
and then we get yet another, like the third time that Lisa is pissed about, being out of her comfort zone, and she brags that she flew her glam in. She said she spends $60,000 a year on glam. So I'm like, okay, you have a $60,000 ring and you spend $60,000 a year on glam. She said she paid her hair makeup artist $2,500 to be there plus the flight. And I'm just like, again, like, was that always her thing that she's so bougie? Because now it's like Monica's making it her thing to go head to head about Lisa being too materialistic or whatever. And I'm like, was that always the case, or it was just like kind of in the mix with everybody and for some reason it just keeps coming up this season?
I think it's just coming up from the natural things that are happening, because I don't remember this as being I don't know. I guess she is like the most materialistic of all of them, because I don't think Heather's that way. Whitney's not really that way. Mary is obviously not. Jen Shaw kind of was, obviously.
Yeah.
I don't know why that keeps coming back, but I was more interested in delving into why Lisa and Meredith. So what happens if you haven't watched her? I'm sure you did. But Whitney takes over. They have a drag competition where they do their own makeup. And first of all, was Lisa the only one who has an active glam person there? Because I assume that's sort of like behind the scenes now on every franchise, right? Like everyone on Beverly Hills has a glam team with them, right?
Yeah, she's the only one that mentioned it.
Okay, so all right. I feel like if Meredith would have been like, well, I'm fine giving up my glam person or whatever, I feel like maybe it was only Lisa who did that. But
Yeah.
what did you make of why Lisa, besides monetarily, why do you think she got so upset about the idea of this competition?
I don't know if she just like didn't want to be like barefaced on camera. Like I can imagine being like, but I'm like, you can cheat that. Just like wash your face and then do your foundation and then like go in like halfway there. Like I don't know if she's just freaking out because that's part of her like control or whatever, but I don't know. I was kind of like surprised that she didn't want to have fun with it. Like I would have assumed before, like she was so butthurt about the wearing that
Yeah.
outfit out to dinner a few nights before, and I'm like, you guys are literally filming like a batshit Real Housewives show. Like you're not going into a restaurant as a normal person. You're going in as like a group with cameras. Like no
Yeah.
one's, I don't know, looking at your designer outfit. Like it doesn't matter. But because once the girls that actually participated came out, I was like, that's so much more fun.
Yeah, no, yeah, totally. Yeah, so she has a fourth wall break or whatever. I mean, she talks to a producer and they keep it in, so that's not really technically a fourth wall break. They just showed her talking to the producers, but I mean, you got to see the behind the scenes of like how they handle a situation like this, which this must happen 10 times a season for every cast member. I mean,
Yeah.
they decided to show it and I'm glad they did. I really liked it. I mean, it felt warranted that it was in there, you know.
Yeah.
And you see Lisa talks to like I think a PA first or maybe an associate producer. He immediately brings in the executive producer. I looked it up and Lori is the executive producer there.
Oh yeah.
So I liked the behind the scenes look at how they like deal with a problem on set with a cast member. It seemed like they got what they wanted and they found a compromise that Lisa was like satisfied with. But what you said is that so Whitney goes all in.
Yeah.
Heather goes all in. Angie, I would say I give her credit. Like she went in. And
Yeah.
Monica went all in. I mean, they did it. They did their own makeup. They wore wigs. They did outfits and everything. And I had no idea. I was like stunned. I like couldn't believe when Lisa came out because she had made such a big deal about it. I was like, well, obviously maybe the makeup is not going to be a thing, but obviously she's going to go in. And then it's just like crickets when they walk out. It's Lisa didn't do anything. Meredith didn't do anything, which was also a huge shock. And then Mary, we knew. I'm surprised Mary even walked out. I'm surprised Mary even did it all, but Mary did nothing. Mary just wore high shoes, I think.
Yeah. I'm honestly shocked that Trixie let these bitches borrow her wigs because I think she mentions that they are expensive and he's like, bring them back. But like, I would not let those bitches wear my show wigs out to the club at all. I'd be
Do you
like,
think
no.
So they were Trixies?
That's what she said.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. So I wanted to ask you also. So there is this divide in the group now of the people who did this and and tried to win this drag competition, and then for some reason I don't know what it was, but Lisa and Meredith like did not want to take part in it, and Mary obviously didn't want to, but she doesn't want to take part in anything. What do you think? Why do you think Lisa and Meredith like just phoned it in? Why didn't they want to compete?
I think Meredith didn't want to participate in the activity that she didn't plan, so she was like, go fuck yourself. And then I think Lisa, she was just still butthurt about the other night, and she kept saying that she hates doing shit like that.
Yeah.
So
right.
I think she was just like, no. But I liked Monica had a whole persona.
Yes.
And she was like, come sit with the French poodles. Don't be a wet noodle. I was like, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. It was a little. She was Monica overall. Like I still love her. I think she's great, but she was again. I think turned up to an 11 when she could have stayed at a 9 or a 10. Like she went a little overboard. I mean, for the drag competition, I was totally fine because I was like, okay, you're the exact opposite of Lisa and Meredith. You're going all in, and she won, which was awesome.
Yeah,
but then
Do you think that Angie came up with the name that was on screen, Anita Invite, or do you think production wrote that?
I think production wrote most of them, but Whitney comes out as little girl, which I
Little
liked.
girl. I wish we had a button. Danny Pellegrino always plays little girl. Like that's like one
Uh,
of his like, favorite soundbite clips. And I'm like, we need to start having little sound buttons.
that would be so fun. I would like that. Um, and then so another remarkable thing to me after the competition that Monica wins, which I thought was awesome. You know, Monica went all out and she was rewarded for it. Obviously, Lisa or Meredith and Mary would not win at all. But then they go to have this dinner. I guess they go into one of the rooms and they eat dinner, and it's one of the most uncomfortable things I think I've ever seen. A very real, awkward, sort of silent experience because I think that Lisa and Meredith and Mary doesn't get along with anyone except Meredith, but they all know that they like kind of flopped and this competition was really awkward and it wasn't fun. And
Yeah.
Heather and Whitney and Monica and Angie were all being really fun. So then there's this like divide in the dinner, in the room, and like they don't even sit with them after. It was like they knew that they had flopped so hard and they didn't know what to do to how to like get back the energy. I was like very uncomfortable with that once the energy
Yeah,
just dissipated out of the room.
for sure. And then yeah, I'm surprised they had the energy to go to a third location or second location. But yeah, of course, on the bus on the way to the club, Monica re-enters the expensive jewelry conversation. She brings in the 1%. She has a full Bernie Sanders moment.
Yes.
um, I liked when she's like yeah, middle class people don't have $60,000 rings, and Lisa's like, yes, they do.
Yeah. Middle class people have $60,000 rings, she said.
Yeah, she's like, they do.
Yeah. It was sort of
Um,
once they got into the Sprinter van and got to the bar, to me, after thinking about it and watching it twice, it's like everyone knew it was time to like fight. And so everyone sort of tried for a moment. Like Monica had hers against Lisa, Whitney had hers with Meredith, Angie just kept trying and flopping to have her fight
she's
moment
like,
with any. Yeah, seriously, it was like, okay, Meredith just turned away from me, so now I'm going to fight with Monica. I mean, Angie, Angie and Monica's trajectory throughout the season is like the biggest disparity here. I mean, Monica is
yeah,
coming out swinging, and Angie is having a really hard time as a cast member, in my
yeah,
opinion.
for sure. Yeah. I like Whitney's like, I don't know, I'm just saying, like, if I were the one that planned the trip, I would have really leaned into the drag and blah blah blah. And Meredith's like, we can all be different. Like, we're not all trying to mimic you. Like, she was just like so like lazy about it. But then Whitney goes for, you know,
Yep.
goes all the way and says, she's like, it's always an excuse with you. It's like, you know, it's someone's sister-in-law's grandson's 3-year-old. It's a headache, whatever. And Meredith is like, ah.
The you can leave spirit comes out again. I could not believe we got
It's
a
the
don't
Lindsay Hubbard red activated eyes.
yes, we got a don't you dare this time. And
Mhm.
you watch in real time as the switch flips again. The same spirit that inhabited her for the you can leave just came out again. She goes, "You're a monster." She got so fired up.
Yeah, she's like, you're using a sick child to weaponize against me. And again, we still don't know which sick child she's talking about. She was quite vague about it. I do think if someone implies something like that, maybe not the best ammunition to go for if you don't know the details.
Yeah,
Um,
I think Whitney should have used like the headache or the other stuff. She should not have said that. But I mean, Whitney must feel very validated in her claim that Meredith tries to get out of anything with like excuses. She just shouldn't have used that one. She should have used like five
yeah.
other instances because that
Yeah,
gave
she started to go into her like splitting headache that like she then tried to say, didn't she say something about it being like a nerve issue? Like she was making it like this whole dramatic health problem she was having.
Yeah, I
So
mean, yeah, Meredith tried to excuse why she didn't compete properly on a headache and a nerve issue. So
she
that
was
could
like,
have been
yeah,
that
I
could have been
wasn't
enough
about
for
to put
Whitney
on a
to go with.
30-pound wig.
Yeah. I'm sort of conflicted about the authenticity of Whitney a little bit. I really like her as a
Yeah,
person, and I think she's fun, and I think she's got what it takes. And I think she should be very secure in herself as a cast member. Like, I don't think there's ever been an instance where Whitney would be even close to being fired. It's like Heather. I don't think Heather would ever be fired from Salt Lake City. I mean, that core four is very
yeah,
powerful, and they are Salt Lake City. But I feel
for
like
sure.
Whitney still maybe feels like she's on the chopping block, or she has to fight for her full-time cast member every time, because some of the things she does, I think she's providing fake conflict. Like the reason why she went up to Meredith, I felt like was just to have a moment. She reads way too much into the drag competition competing thing. I mean, Meredith's excuse was fine. You know, she just didn't want to do it. Like, who cares? Let her not compete properly. I feel like also I said this about Whitney's fight with Heather. I felt like that was just more fake conflict because she knows that would be a good storyline to have. And I
Yeah,
wish that Whitney could just let herself have her real authentic reactions, and it would probably be entertaining enough, and she's never going to get fired. Like, I don't think she's ever going to be so boring that there'd be like, we got to lose Whitney. She always has the connection to Heather, and I think Heather is never going to get fired.
yeah. No, it definitely seems like she gets like overly fired up just to like, or like poke the bear,
Yeah. And then the
whenever.
rest of the rest of the episode really is Angie just going back and forth, trying to just have a moment with anyone, and she just gets shut down completely. Monica, Monica is ready for it completely. Like they have their own fight, and then what happens? They all have like a little bit of a fight, and then they just get back onto the bus with Mary afterwards, right? And then the trip is
Yeah,
over.
she's been on the bus so long. Their wigs are shifting around, and Monica, I guess probably Angie says something about Monica being an assistant, and Monica goes, "You can't be someone's assistant if you don't get paid." And I was like, well, I don't know if that's true, but okay.
Right? No, yeah, it's not true. And also, Angie said she did get paid. And also, I thought Angie, actually, to give Angie credit, she was like, okay, so you left your kids at home to not get paid by Jen Shaw. I mean,
Yeah,
I imagine the proximity to fame was compelling to Monica, so I could imagine that maybe she was an intern to Jen Shaw. I mean, but
yeah,
I don't think negatively, like I already said. I don't think negatively of anyone who had prior ties to Jen Shaw. I think they all were fooled by her, and they all did the right thing once she was found out.
yeah. Especially if you were like employed by her.
Yeah, I mean, no one was more ride or die for Jen Shaw than Heather, and I don't have any ill will towards Heather. I think she's doing good in her post Jen Shaw era, despite being the most hungover I've ever seen someone this episode. I
I
mean,
felt that.
yeah.
I've been there.
Um,
Um, all right. Should we take a flight from Palm Springs to Orange County?
yeah, let's go to Orange County. I am excited to hear your thoughts on OC. I feel very fired up to talk about it. Wait, let me do just one
Good.
transition. Just hold on one second. So, like you said, I think we should take a flight from Palm Springs to maybe the beautiful area of Orange County.
I wish there was like an airplane takeoff sound.
Yeah, me too. That would be great. So I want to hear your thoughts first, then I'll tell you generally how I felt. But because we haven't talked about this at all, how did you feel about the season finale of Orange County?
I thought it was good. I feel like the finale was almost like a preemptive reunion of sorts, like where you got to see everyone lay out their information on the table and either like make up or, take sides, which was kind of a nice way to close, I feel like. But then I feel like anything that was even remotely resolved in the finale will be completely stripped apart in the reunion.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. There was that. The thing I loved about it was that it was so clear cut narratively. about what was going on. It was like the season came to a very like well-written end point, which, you
Yeah.
know, I know wasn't clear, it wasn't written, but it just came down to what we've seen the entire season, which is Tamra versus Heather. Tamra more behind the scenes, and then Heather realizing that it was always Tamra all along, and then Tamra and Heather going head to head basically at the
Yeah.
finale party. It was very clear cut. I really like that. Not a lot of finales have that sort of what's that, like closure or a well written
Yeah.
end to the season.
It was like a race to the finish. Like you're like, Heather, get your points in before Tamra gets to them. You know, like you were, at least I was, I assume you were too, rooting for Heather to get the last laugh.
Yes, totally. So the first, I mean, I can sort of frame it if you want, if you want to have the brief version of this conversation.
Yeah.
How do you feel? Like, so the
Yeah.
first 20 minutes are, everyone is really talking about how mad they are at Heather still. That's the first 20 minutes of this. Now, not only are our main cast members who have hated Heather this entire time for completely fake reasons that were fully stemmed by Tamra, fully created by Tamra, now we know that Taylor and Jen want a little bit of peace. The piece of Heather. They're like the last people who got on the Heather hate train, and they're like, wait, if this is how the season's going, let's get a little piece of it too. So Taylor and Jen say that in Mexico, Heather said she was going to go get a sip of soup, have some soup, and then go meet them, and that they're both apparently pissed because Heather fell asleep and didn't come back to them. So now not only is it just Tamra, Shannon, Emily, and Gina, but now Taylor and Jen are against Heather for the finale, which I thought was shocking. I was like, no way. Taylor went from, I thought Taylor had such a sweet, beautiful moment last season where she was the sympathetic person commiserating with Heather. I was like, Taylor, this is beautiful. And then even Taylor succumbed to the power of Tamra's hatred towards Heather eventually.
It was like watching the states flip on election night.
Yes, exactly right. Exactly
You're like,
right.
oh wow, we have a red sweep all of a sudden. We thought that one was in the bag for sure. Or like when like senators have to get other senators to agree to vote for their bill or whatever.
Right. Right. Yeah. So I was like, okay, that is a shocking revelation for the finale. Then you get more conversations. Jen is talking shit about Heather. Shannon is like, I don't care about Heather anymore. I've resigned to my place with Heather. I know she'll never change. Emily is like, I hate Heather and I'll never stop hating her. Like it is like that is the season. And then I love Heather telling Terry about how she says, I got dog fucked in Mexico. Dog fucked. And then the producers editors show the montage or whatever you want to call that, the split screen of the 50 different scenes of people going against Heather. It's like they know that this was, I mean, I felt like there was shade in that editing of just showing this onslaught of all of the cast members against Heather. Right?
They also included an actual dog humping for effect.
Yes, in the center, a dog is actually humping a pillow or something in the center. But, I mean, did you think, like, to me, I like, we've been talking about this entire season, this one-sided feud with Heather who has done nothing. And then you actually see the evidence of all of them coming. They had the Snuffleupagus clip, all of just this garbage, the soup shit now. It's like, has there ever been a season of a show where someone didn't do anything at all that you can actually pinpoint on camera and then have all of the cast members go against them? It's like like complete peer pressure.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I feel like it usually happens to first season wives. Like I feel like Jen is the other one on this very show, but I also liked her mapping out that which is true, that Gina and Emily have historically been shunned by Tamra and Vicky, and they never liked them because she made them feel like shit. And so now the first time she's showing them any attention or affection, they're kind of like on board because they want her approval, which is kind of disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, and strategically, it's so dumb too. If someone wanted a bigger presence this season, aligning with Heather, who you know for a fact is a better person than Tamara, would have been a great way. I mean, we already gave Taylor so much credit for her brief moment with Heather. Like, why would you all rally around Tamara's, one-sided attack against someone? Like, they all were just duped by Tamara, and they all thought that that was going to be the narrative of this season that would actually yield, I guess, the audience's sympathy for some reason. They thought that that aligning with Tamara would get us on their side, and we'd be like, yeah, fuck Heather. She sucks. And then I think you can see Gina. So they have this sit down that Gina orchestrates. Gina says she knows now, I think, that she needs a scene with Heather. Heather should talk to someone. So Gina sits Heather down, and then they have this sit down where Heather is so over all of the cast members and she doesn't want to talk to anyone. But Gina asks her for the sit down, and then when they get there, they both sit there in silence. It's almost like Gina thinks that like Heather is going to apologize to her first for nothing, and then Heather goes, "You asked me here. What did you want to say?" And Gina goes, "I can tell you're really upset. I'm upset too." And it's like, Gina, there is absolutely nothing that Heather has done that you should be upset about. Yeah. Right? I mean, there's nothing that Heather has done. Gina is just fully on the bandwagon of Heather hate, to where even when Heather plays a clip from Two Teas in a Pod, where Tamara specifically says, "I have to be with all the losers," and Tamara is gleefully saying it on the podcast, Gina somehow skews that into still being mad at Heather because Heather didn't tell her up front that this happened. Like, if Heather has to tell you what Tamara said on Two Teas in a Pod. Right.
How do you think Heather found that clip? Like, who told her about that?
I mean, I'm sure that it was probably mentioned at some point in like on blogs or people who recap Bravo content, that Tamara called all of her cast members losers. It's just, and then I think Gina tells in her confessional that, like, here's why I'm still going to hate Heather and why I believe Tamara. She's like, Tamara is not a liar. And it's like, what are you talking about? Tamara's one of the biggest liars of all time. But then I think something about that conversation and hearing Tamara specifically say losers, then when they go to the party, which is like the best part of the episode by far, the last 30 minutes, Gina starts to, like, one by one sort of rally people away from Tamara in a way. She tells Emily what she talked about, and then it's like Gina was the small little, I don't know, like one to like collapse against her Heather hatred. And then Heather throughout the party is just having one-on-one conversations and just single-handedly getting people back on her side throughout the entire party.
Yeah. It was thrilling to watch. Tamara was like really like grasping at straws. You could see her like losing her power in slow motion. Yes. But that said, I don't think that it's a sealed deal, any of the loyalty that was made that night.
No.
We don't need to dig into it, but I just wanted to shout out that magazine photo shoot because it felt like old times. Like housewives being on the cover of like fake local magazines.
Amar. I didn't see that. Which magazine were they on the cover of?
Tamara and Eddie, or just Tamara actually, was on the cover of, she said Amar, I think it might be like Amare magazine, who's just like a friend of theirs who has a magazine in 2023. It's like Women of the Year.
Oh, okay. So I watched
and
the
I
live
just enjoyed that. And
broadcast.
then
Amy, you froze. Can you still hear me? Hey.
Oh yeah.
You froze for just a second when you were talking about. So I saw the clip you're talking about, like live. It was Tamara was getting like some award, right? Woman of the Year or something.
Yeah, it was like a magazine cover. I don't know who the other women are, like maybe local businesses or something. I think they were all on the cover. I don't know. We should buy the mag, but
yeah, let's get it.
Tamara talks about her childhood and how her dad owned like a car shop or something like that. And the photo, I think they've shown this photo before, but whenever they show her dad, the photo they choose is him blowing out the candles on his birthday cake. That is like the outline of a woman with huge cartoonish tits.
Wow, I didn't look at that closely enough. That's such a
I was
funny
like,
photo
I
to
kind of
keep
love
following.
that.
That's awesome. Wow, I gotta rewatch that. I want to see that again. I didn't know that it
And
was like it had breasts on it.
Tamara's like laughing in the background, like in her teens. And I was like, that's kind of like a funny detail because I feel like she's sort of been, you know, she embraces her, I don't know what you want to call it, like redneck or I don't know, like rough and tumble upbringing. And I feel like they
Uh-huh.
just like uh went in on that being the picture of her dad.
Yeah, yeah, that is fun. Yeah, and Tamra, I mean, in this episode, I mean, I don't think I was just thinking the entire time. I mean, Tamra is probably one of the biggest villains in Housewife history, right? Just from this season alone. I mean, has there ever been someone who was able to start a completely fabricated one-sided feud against one cast member, get everybody on her side, and then still continue it until the finale and still basically stir up people. I mean, every time someone comes back from talking with Heather and they're fully on Heather's side, she's like, "Oh, that is so typical of Heather." And then Tamara even says, behind the scenes, Heather is the biggest villain of them all. Like, that is one of the most ridiculous statements I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, it's kind of like making me rethink, like I need to rewatch Tamra's history because she was certainly always a shit stirrer. I feel like one of her biggest campaigns was like against Brooks, so it felt like kind of like,
Yeah.
valid. But I feel like she hasn't gone this hard or she hasn't had the power to
Yeah.
go this hard
No,
ever before.
Yeah, that Brooks thing, that had awful intentions before she knew what he was doing. She just got on the right side of history once, but she's been
Yeah.
awful the entire time. Since sicking her son on drunken Gretchen, from screaming in bushes performatively, from throwing wine in Gina Keogh's eye, which I feel like she should have been sued into oblivion for any damage that Gina Keogh's eye got from that. She even tried to smash a glass. I didn't even remember it. In last episode, she basically almost has to restrain herself from fake breaking a glass in Mexico.
Yeah.
They didn't even show it because they're like so over Tamara's behavior. Throwing a napkin at Jen. Tamara has always been awful, but she has been able to do it all behind the scenes before. Now she's lost a step, and she is so obviously nakedly doing this. Like,
Yeah.
she's lost her touch completely.
Right.
And yeah, she's always been like this. I mean, she's been awful from the very start. From did you go to Bass Lake to now to Heather is the biggest villain of all time, which is so laughable that no one believes Tamara anymore. It's just she staked her claim on too ridiculous of a mountain, for people to die on with her.
I know that we've talked about this before, but seriously, can you imagine pulling that naked wasted bit in 2023?
No, it is. I mean, apart from criminal behavior, which even though that was almost criminal, despite criminal behavior and whatever else, I think a thing that happened that a cast member did that didn't get any scrutiny at the time is probably one of the worst things that I've ever seen someone do.
It was bordering on that below deck scandal, honestly.
It was. It just we didn't have no one cared as much back then. I mean, it was. She would have been fired. She would have been fired for that. It was awful. It was horrendous. To sick your disgusting son on a drunken woman in a bathroom who was protesting, who didn't want it, who was in a relationship. I think she was married, right? She was married to that guy, right?
Engaged.
Oh, engaged, right? Yeah, it's awful. It's horrific. And this season, it's like it was almost worth it just to see how evil Tamara can be up until the very end. I mean, the look of despair when she finds out that all of the cast members are now finally realizing that Tamara was behind everything and they're taking photos with Heather. She goes, "Oh, you guys are taking photos together, huh? That's really interesting. That's very different from what you've been saying recently." Like she's like, she can't believe that her power is lessening on these other cast members and that people are finally seeing Heather for being the hero, which she was the entire time. And then she has that final confrontation with Heather where she hears something that she said where Heather told Emily that Tamara talked shit about her career. Emily tells it right to Tamara's face, and Tamara goes, "I never said that. That's a complete lie." And even though you just saw the clip of it. And then, she gets in Heather's face. They have a fight. Heather goes, "I don't want anything to do with you." She goes, "Goodbye, bitch." And that's basically the end of the episode.
Yeah. I liked Heather had to say it in the most Heather way possible. She's like, "You are laboring under the misconception that I give a shit about what you think."
I loved it.
She really like cannot help herself. But I like it.
I'm like almost like we should redo our top 10 housewives of all time, and I'm putting Heather.
Oh my god, I can't believe this flip. You like did not like her at the beginning.
I didn't. I've never. I think I got to see Heather when the world was against her. It's the world of housewives was against her. Like I saw her. She was down and out. She was on the ropes. Tamara had her against the ropes, beating the shit out of her, metaphorically, with every cast member.
Rocky story.
And Heather just fucking knockout punch back on Tamara. Heather, all she needed to do was have a one-on-one conversation with everyone. And they eventually are just like, wait, what the hell are we doing here? We really believe Tamara over Heather. It was awesome. It was so powerful. And it was such a story of good and evil. It was like I said, it was so clear cut. I was like rooting for Heather and she came out on top. It was awesome.
Yeah. And their outfits, like Tamara was like dressed as like a little like demon troll clown, and Heather, I don't quite understand what her look was, but she was like statuesque and like clean and like pulled together.
It was awesome. She looked like an angel. Tamara looked like an absolute demon. It was so great. And then the end cards. Oh, and another underrated aspect was when Heather goes to Jen. Jen is very sweet, and I like Jen, and I don't blame her for getting on the Heather train late. But she just goes, "I just felt like you didn't really give me any attention." And Heather goes, "I'm sorry, but I didn't want anything to do with you because of your relationship with Tamara. And I don't know how the hell you deal with Tamara. I mean, she is a piece of shit friend to you." And Jen, what's her rebuttal to that? Tamara was the worst friend in the world to Jen.
I know.
Yeah, I mean, that was great too.
I also feel like something that's going to come up at the reunion. So I feel like Taylor fucked herself because she was just so wasted and like didn't make sense, and like was like deep throating the ice cream and was just like yelling about the chicken soup, and Heather was like horrified. But Heather does like a pretty like, I don't know, like nasty impression of Taylor that I feel like is gonna be I was like, if you just didn't do that, you could have remained on top. I feel like when you get down and dirty, then people are gonna get mad at you. But
I loved it. I didn't get mad at her. She gets one mean thing that she does after an entire season of ever being horrible to her.
My friends who have $5 billion aren't pretentious. Yeah. Like, she was just like going off. I was like, okay. And then Emily, I think she was just drunk, but she pulls Heather aside and is like, "You know what? I love you." And then she starts crying about her childhood. And I was like, all right, yeah, let's wrap that one up. Like, check.
Emily didn't even need Heather to open her mouth. It was like the minute Heather began to speak, Emily was like, "I love you. I love you." I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. It was like Emily, it took nothing for Heather to win Emily back.
It was giving like Octavian versus Mark Anthony.
You are speaking my language now. It definitely was. It will be very interesting, like you said, how Tamara has sprinkled powder on the heads of everyone to get them back under her spell. I will be very interested to see who could watch that season like you and I just watched it and be like, actually Tamara was like sort of right on the money there. I actually really appreciated Tamara this season. It's like I couldn't imagine a world where that happens.
Right. All right. I liked, did you notice in Heather's update, it says that her son, Nikki, is being mentored by Josh Altman. I'm like, do you think they have the power to get them on $1 Million Listing?
Oh, for sure. And like, they just made another like millionaire kid. Like that kid's going to be making millions in the next 2 years. Like,
I mean, same with like all of the Umansky girls. Like they're just selling like $20 million homes because Mauricio's like, "Hey, do you want this listing?"
Yeah, right. Do you think Heather and Terry would ever give us some of their money?
I would love that. Maybe we can Venmo request them.
Well, I know Heather's Venmo handle, so it's just Heather dash Dubrow. Like what I always say is that even though like $50,000 sounds like a lot to a lot of our little turtle cuties, it's a lot to us. But when you compare that to the amount of money Terry and them have, $50,000 is more like 500 to them. So I don't think it's
Yeah.
out of the question that we should get some of their money.
Yeah. I would at least love some free treatments from Terry. I would take that too.
Yeah, I would take that. I don't know what I would specifically get done, but I would do something. I'd prefer the money, but if that was all Terry could offer, I would do something kind of with my body.
Let's get snatched for 2024.
Can that be our New Year's resolution?
I feel like we have to look good for BravoCon.
Oh,
You
I
know?
want that. Well, okay. All right. Well, I want to do that. And so ultimately, like, okay, so here's my final thought about OC, if you'll just permit me to talk
Yeah.
one more minute. I wish that Tamra had come from a more authentic place, and I knew she wasn't just a shit stirrer that was completely inauthentic and a producer's puppet and just trying to propel the story by being the most evil you can be. I wish that this had actually had the foundation of being real and not just fake Tamra bullshit. But ultimately, I think this season was good to watch for what ended up happening. This very clear showdown between Heather and Tamra. I really enjoyed the finale.
Yeah, no, it was really good. And it was kind of like the fact that they had both been brought back and then
Yes.
going head to head. It was kind of interesting.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't even think about that. They are both returning cast members, and they had all of the power. It was just them.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, you know
yeah.
what? The actual RHONY minute.
Yeah, 1 minute. Really quickly, speaking of old RHONY and Heather on Watch What Happens, did you see who was in the chipmunk costume?
Was it Ramona?
Yeah.
I heard a little whisper of that. What? Oh, you tell me. I'm interested. I can't believe I didn't
They
watch it.
did
What
like
she do?
it was a play on the Masked Singer since Jenny McCarthy was on, and so they did like the Masked Housewife or whatever, and it was like a chipmunk costume, and they only had to ask a couple questions. Interestingly, one of the questions was, "Do you have a liquor line or like a alcohol line?" And the chipmunk said no. So then when it was revealed that it was Ramona, I was like, "Wow, you really left Ramona Pinot Grigio by the wayside." But yeah, she like pulled the head off. It was Ramona. Ramona said that she did it as a favor for, I forget, she named the Bravo PR girl. She was like, I did it for such and such in Bravo PR.
Wow.
uh,
That's fun. How long was Ramona there for the episode?
she sat at a bar stool at the bar for the rest of the episode. So it was probably like the second half. She was just off to the side.
I feel like Bravo had a full change of heart. I mean, I felt like I read articles that said that Ramona was like fired from the Bravo universe after season 13 of RHONY, and I feel like they just completely caved and were just like, wait. I think we were too hasty there. Ramona is definitely still in the Bravo universe, right?
Yeah,
I feel like she was.
Yeah,
Oh,
she
sorry,
was
go ahead.
talking about Ultimate Girls Trip, and like she was sitting in Andy's lap, and like he obviously like loves her so much, like thinks she's so entertaining. So yeah.
Wow, just like me.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Speaking of,
So why don't we fly from wherever the hell we were before, Orange County, and let's go to the beautiful Big Apple.
but then a
Okay.
second flight to Anguilla,
Oh, right.
Anguilla.
Anguilla?
Sure.
I'm sorry. I think you're right. I'm sorry. I just heard. I thought it was. Whatever. I don't know.
I've heard different housewives say it different ways, but can you fucking believe we're still there?
Oh my God. No. It has felt like perpetuity. Like what's that? Purgatory.
Yeah.
We've been there for so long. 3 episodes has felt like 10 episodes.
Yeah, I've even noticed that people that widely defend the show generally are starting to complain about how there's nothing to talk about.
I was gonna say that I don't want to bring like other people's opinions into like you and I's takes because I don't want that to like influence our perception at all. But I did do some perusing around the other accounts, and I feel like this episode, for some reason, was like the last straw of even the staunchest defenders of RHONY. There are people who still say this is an amazing season, the freshest thing they've ever seen, and I feel like this episode pushed even them to the limit.
It's like I can't. And like the fact that it's like they milked that like phone thing like throughout the entire episode, and
Yes.
like I was just like, I don't fucking care. Like, because
Yes.
ultimately you know that they're just gonna like kiss and make up, so it's like, who fucking cares? Like, you guys don't have like an actual feud. It's just so boring.
Yeah, it is so boring. I mean, we can do the broad strokes, or we don't even have to talk about it. I mean, I mean, well, for people who say this was the final straw, I liked it up until this point. There has been worse episodes than this that we've had to
Yeah.
sit through. I mean, this has been a run of like 5 or 6 horrible episodes since the last time I thought an episode was good. So I don't know why this would be the final straw, but I'm glad you finally came to that conclusion. I still have no idea what this reunion that Andy is touting as one of the best reunions he's ever seen in his life. What the hell are they going to talk about? The phone again?
No, it's so boring. Like, the fact that the like reservation or like the dinner at Catch reared its head in this episode again, I was like, we can't talk about that again. We can't talk about that again. Like, I'm gonna freak out. Like, I don't fucking care.
Yeah.
I also I was looking at a post online of someone that generally likes the show, and they said, if anyone's gonna get booted, who's it gonna be? And almost all of the comments said Psy.
I've seen that Psy is like the scapegoat for the season. Like, people are like, Psy's the real weak link. She's the one we can't tolerate. They're all very bad. They're all bad. Psy is not remarkably worse as a housewife than any of the other ones. So she's more annoying because of the food thing. But
Yeah.
Aaron is just as annoying. And Aaron is creating the most fake conflict of anyone in the world. Brynn is probably the most annoying cast member I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
The most one-note cast member there's ever been. Who's like...
Yeah. I really couldn't celebrate that like Jenna and Brynn flirtation. I was
No.
like, I don't have the energy for this. It's so dumb. Like, I'm like, either you guys are actually gonna fuck or shut up.
Yeah, no, I was screaming fuck. I was like, you guys better do that right now. Close the door and make love to each other, because I think this is just another performative Brynn moment where she thinks that this is a way she can get attention. But yeah, no, the Psy thing, Psy is not so much worse than Uba or Aaron or
Yeah.
Brynn or Jenna. We have so much goodwill towards Jenna because she's a nice person and she's famous and she has a great career and she's fashionable. But
Yeah.
Jenna is not great on the show.
No.
Not at all.
No.
I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like she gets goodwill because people like her,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
I
people just
think-
generally like her.
I think that like as we've said before, she could be fun in a different group. Like, her energy could be balanced by like a kookier group.
Yes.
But like right now, since they're all kind of duds, like her being one of the duds, she really hasn't brought a single goddamn thing like at all.
Yeah. So yeah, for me, just because we're talking about the cast. So for me, Jessel has the energy. She's in the worst group, like you just said about Jenna. She's in a horrible group, so she can barely shine. There's so much fake conflict she has to bat against. She has Aaron coming for her. They all make fun of her. They say she's forgettable, which I'm like,
That was
Brand,
so
you're making
rude.
you're making fun of Jessel being forgettable. She's probably the only good cast member out of all of you that people are starting to rally around.
Yeah.
So that shows how off the mark Brynn is. But really, I think if this show gets put on the scrap heap, which it should, it's put it out of its misery, Jessel and Jenna are the only two that I think could go on old RHONY. If RHONY wanted a shakeup and they brought back the legacy people, keep Jenna and Jessel, and I think they would thrive in the mix with other entertaining people. Those are the only two now that I think could do it, that have merit to watch.
That feels right. Jessel's really grown on me, actually. Like, once she had her like list against Aaron and was getting kind of fired up and a little more like degaff and like standing up for herself, and then showing like the humor with her husband a little more, I was like, honestly, like I'm kind of down, actually.
Yeah. No, yeah, I know. I like her. I like her relationship with her husband. I like her relationship with her mom. I love that she's keeping a list and checking it twice about Aaron and all of the horrible things that Aaron has done. And I think that, yeah, the cast is so off base with how they're treating her. They're like, Jessel is the weak link. We all don't like Jessel. And like, she's the one that has merit so far and is actually interesting to watch.
She feels like someone that could be on like a different Bravo show. Like if there was like a PR ladies show or something, like I could see her being on that. And like I was, one of the turtle cuties was reminding me of, what's it called? I'm going to blank on the name, but do you ever on TikTok get those like two like middle-aged white women that are like, I've had it?
You know what? I'll be honest with you. I wish I had seen it, but I haven't.
They have a podcast and I watch their videos all the time. And
is it
they
better
just
than
like
ours?
shit. I think we should collab with them, but they like talk shit about, I think they live in like Oklahoma, and they talk shit about like what people they know are doing on Facebook, and like it's kind of like, I've had it with this or whatever. And one of the turtle cuties on Patreon reminded me that they briefly had a show on Bravo called, I think it was called Sweet Home, because they're like decorators. And so I'm kind of like, you know what, like Bravo really had a great run of like non-housewives shows that were usually pretty good, and I'm like, maybe like, I don't know, maybe they could, if this Housewives franchise is like doomed, then I'm like, do a fucking Jenna Lyons Bravo show. We know she's interested in like, because like the most interesting part about her is her fashion and like her influence. So like do a like Hell on Earth with Jenna Lyons, which like I think the other show she did on HBO Max I think was more competition driven. I didn't watch it, but or like Jessel, like a PR, like the way, you know, there was like Ladies in London, or like Gallery Girls, or whatever. Like I think there's like more directions than just like the strict Housewives format that they feel a little confused about, because now that they're branching out into like, I don't know, like younger, or like they're trying to go for a different angle, I'm like, I don't know, maybe they could like spice up their non-Housewives shows or something.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's such a clear, like, Bravo has such a baked in audience who will watch anything and give, you know, their attention to anything. I mean, we've seen now with RHONY that people will literally watch anything if it's stamped with the Housewives franchise. I don't necessarily know if Jessel or Jenna isolated would, you know, provide enough merit if they can't provide a merit in this, you know, merit in this context. But I do agree that there are other avenues that they don't necessarily have to have this talent be within a Housewives franchise. There are other ways that this could have been called Fashionable New York or whatever. That's the worst title in the world. But like the New York fashion world, like centric, and had the same show. But they're like, all
Ladies of London is 100% just Real Housewives, but it's called Ladies of London.
Yeah, and you wouldn't have the scrutiny that comes with, you know, people who are so attached to the Housewives franchises. And also, it was just such a bad branding decision to stop RHONY dead in its tracks and replace it with a reboot. And not a lot of people who are not so into what Bravo's doing, like the inner workings of it, are probably just stunned that the legacy cast was just fired completely and are not watching.
Totally. What else happened? Anything?
No, I mean, Jessel making a list was fun. Aaron finally gets to like receive some pushback for creating so much fake conflict with all the people, and she immediately can't take it at all. Uba and her resolve the drama within, you know, an episode, and that's really it. I mean, it was a slog. It was a very boring episode, but it's par for the course of what we've been dealing with for the last 4 episodes or so.
Yeah, I got served an Erin Instagram post. She was wishing her young daughter Happy Daughter's Day, and I was just like staring at the photo, and I was like, "Who are you?" Like I was like, I don't like understand like anything about you. Like,
Yeah,
what's
we
your
don't.
personality? She doesn't know what a wet ass pussy is. She's only 35 years old. She has all these kids, but like she doesn't really have like a motherly energy. Like it's like I'm very confused.
Me too. We don't know her, and we've spent 11 episodes with her, and we don't know her. We don't know Bryn. We don't know Uba at all. I mean, a part of it is that, like I said last week or whatever, this is such a cloistered group where they're not showing their lives in a way, or any of the friends or the things
Yeah,
they do.
we just know
And
that Bryn was aboard the Exxon Valdez or whatever. Like,
yeah, she was just cleaning up the BP oil spill or whatever. I mean, it's just I mean, I don't know. I mean, we've been saying this for weeks, and a part of me just thinks that Andy and Bravo will be like, deal with it for one more season, guys. You know, we are not going to scrap this show. Like, we know it can find an audience next season. You know, I almost believe that that's more likely than them admitting a mistake and getting us back to old RHONY.
yeah, for sure. Well, we'll see. I wonder what their presence will be like at BravoCon. I feel like that's kind of a good indicator of how hard they're gonna go with a show, you know?
Yeah. It'll be like Jessel, Jessel, Jessel.
Yeah.
Cool. Well,
Okay. Well,
I feel like we breezed. I mean, this is long as hell. I mean, 2 hours and 35 minutes, but I like, we did high level takes, and I hope that we didn't strain your throat too much. You didn't
yeah.
sound strained.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna need to do what's it called? I was gonna say the silent treatment. What do they call it? Vocal rest.
Oh, yes. Vocal
Now.
rest. Okay. Well, I think
but
I
yeah,
speak for our little turtle cuties just saying that thank you so much for taking the time, and I hope that there was merit here. I think there was, hopefully.
yeah, I got that steroid shot in my ass just in the nick of time for us to cover all 4 shows.
Yeah, it was just like that Mad Men episode that we sometimes talk about, where they get those B12 shots in their ass and they start running around the Mad Men office.
Yeah.
So good. Okay, well, all right. Well, I want you to have a wonderful day and get better, and then let's record our Patreon tomorrow.
Right. Yeah, the grind is real.
Okay, good. All right. Well, Amy and I love you so much. I hope that we talked about everything in the world this week. But we love you so much, and we will be back next week with even more talking. Turtle time.
Okay. Bye, guys.
Goodbye.